Yo, yo, yo. Okay, so today, got a couple hours probably, but I'm thinking while we're doing some debates and stuff, I can try and get some merch set up, which is long overdue. We've long needed some merch for the movement, t-shirts and hoodies and things like that. So I've got my computer behind the phone and I'm going to try and do it while streaming, multitask, why not? Okay, so kill everyone. No, we shouldn't kill everyone. Killing is a bad thing. We should make killing impossible. And we don't support killing, we support euthanasia, right? Putting to sleep, right? If your mother was in hospital and there was nothing else they could do, you wouldn't say, oh yeah, kill her, right? You'd say, we should, pull the plug, we should put her to sleep or euthanize her, send her to sleep. You wouldn't say kill her, right? So we should get away from thinking of extinction as being about killing, right? It's not about killing. It's more about prevention of suffering. And again, you use euthanasia to do that. So euthanasia is used on animals and people all the time. And it's used to essentially help them, right? So it's used to benefit them in an ethical, in a medical, in a responsible way. It's when it's the only thing that can help them, and to protect them from more suffering. So that's what euthanasia is about. It's an ethical way to help, right? So extinctionism is about compassion. It's about responsibility. It's about helping others, caring for them, doing the right thing. It's not about wanting to kill them or wanting to see the world burn. It's about wanting to make sure that no life is in danger, in unsafe conditions, being forced to exist in, extreme suffering and a life of pure hell. So, again, it's about caring. So if you're here for, you want to see the world burn, well, we're not about that, right? Extinctionism is about being as responsible as you can possibly be, as ethical and moral and as good of a person as is physically possible, essentially. So it's not about like, oh, I'm angry, I hate the world. It's the opposite of that. It's, I want to help the world because I love the world, right? And I love and care about all of the life out there. So it's about like benevolence, essentially, right? It's about being all loving, all caring, which most humans aren't, right? They are not benevolent at all. They discriminate, they don't care about others. So extinctionists genuinely care about everyone, every animal, and we care about potential life as well. If it suffers, we actually care. Whereas most people, if it suffers, it doesn't affect them at all. It's like, so what? So, yeah, we should do better, right? We should do better, start caring about the world and wanting to help it and to do the best for it instead of just being selfish. Lawrence, hello, how you doing?
Yeah, how are you doing? All right. So I won't be around. I just, why do you care about this subject so much? To go the time out your day to, make this point about
Well, it's the most
the
important thing,
extinction.
right? If you're going to care about anything, then caring about,
But
virtually infinite victims of torture is the one thing worth caring about.
but okay, torture is an aspect of living.
Yeah, I mean, don't get
It's
stuck up
not.
on words, right? It's just a word.
But why like? So are you struggling? Yeah, with torture and life and
Well, no, but others
trying to
are.
go to
It's
work
not
and
about me, Lawrence, right?
your
Don't make
social
it about.
life and have you got problems like?
So you think that essentially we should be selfish and only care about having a good life for ourselves, and not care
Yeah,
if
but
anyone else suffers?
you can go through the same day and have a positive experience and a negative. So you can suffer, but also enjoy. All suffering is the fear of death, probably
Really?
fundamentally.
So like
I
child
would say
abuse
so. I
isn't suffering.
Yeah, but why do you always go back to that? To that
Good
as well?
example. It's a good example.
Why? No, but you always pick that up.
Well, just
But
work with the example. What
no, but
problem?
there are civilizations that don't view child abuse the same way you're viewing it.
So you're one of these child abuse is a good thing, people.
No, of course it's not.
So why are
But
you
what I'm
defending it?
saying,
Why are you saying, well, some
I'm not.
people?
Of course I'm. No. Of course I'm not.
Sounds like you're
But what
defending it. Why else would you say that? Some
so
people.
Mohammed married a 9-year-old,
So why are
and
you?
yet
It sounds like you're encouraging it,
second
like you're
biggest. Of
supporting it.
course I'm not. So don't
It sounds like
start.
you're saying, well, if it was okay for Mohammed, then
It's
what's
disgusting. I completely am against it. Right? Let's just
okay?
draw the line there. But the second most followed religion on earth, this guy married a 9-year-old.
Right, which is a bad thing.
But I bet you don't say that to a Muslim.
Yeah, if you were Muslim, I'd say, yeah, that's a bad thing.
And you can go back to ancient Greece. So Socrates was married to an 8-year-old. Do you know this?
Yeah. By the way, guys, would you rather have T-shirts or hoodies
Brilliant.
as merch for the movement? Let us know in the chat. But look, Lawrence, this is a bit boring.
I'll leave you to
Why don't
it.
we try and talk about the actual topic, right? Do you think suffering, extreme suffering, is acceptable?
Yeah, it's kind of boring now. But yes, I do. Yes, I think if
So
because
child abuse is acceptable.
we are.
So you were
supposed
defending
to-
it.
No. Why are you always bringing it back to that? I'm talking about suffering as a means of survival.
Right, but that's not the important or relevant type of suffering, Lawrence. That's effectively a straw man, right? If like stubbing your toe was the only suffering in the world, then it would be a different conversation.
Does the
It would be a
camera
different
you're looking at
conversation,
right now
Lawrence.
exist
It would be
outside of
it
your
would
mind?
look. If stubbing your toe was the only suffering in the world, it would be a different conversation. Okay, but that's not the real world, and to try and argue against extinction in reference to helpful suffering that helps you grow, you're completely straw manning, right? You're ignoring the reality, which is that it's about extreme suffering.
But I don't think you're thinking about it deeply enough, because I assume you're looking at a phone right now.
Yeah.
Right, does that phone exist outside your mind?
Probably, yeah.
But you've instantly took a moment of faith to assume it does, yeah? But you're now so concerned about suffering and all this other stuff.
So you
When
think we
really
should just ignore
you're-
suffering, just allow it.
If you don't...
What about slavery? What about slavery? Should we allow slavery?
By the way, slavery... no, we shouldn't, no.
Why not?
But
Why not?
it will take people to stop it, and then it will come back. It's been a thing throughout all of human history. It will come back again as a
Right,
thing.
Lawrence, we don't need your pessimism and your, resignation. There's no logic there. It's just saying, I don't think it'll work. But that's not an argument. There's no reason or nothing worth listening to there, essentially. It's just pure cynicism. Hello, how you doing?
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Tell me, why should we end all suffering? We should torture every single living being.
So you're pro-suffering.
Yes, something like that.
So would you say you're evil?
Yes, I would say I'm very dangerous, very dangerous. Yeah.
Okay. It sounds like you're having some sort of mental breakdown, perhaps.
Yes, I agree.
All right. Well, I recommend you get some help. Maybe see a doctor or something. And we're going to move on to our next guest, which is Cornbread. Bringing them up now. Hello, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good to hear. Do you have any questions?
No, I just had a statement. I would say I half agree with you, I would say I am pro extinction, but primarily for Jews, niggers, and anybody that's not.
Oh dear, we don't want to hear that hateful stuff. Let's ban him. And you should learn what the definition of extinction is. So it doesn't apply to races; it applies to species. So you really need to educate yourself, right? That would be genocide, not extinction. They're completely different things. And if you don't realize that, then that's down to a lack of education, ignorance. Hello, how you doing?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
All right. You seem to be doing good. So when you say total extinction, you mean everyone, right?
Yeah.
So, well, I don't want it to seem rude, but like, why don't you participate? Like, why aren't you like the first person to do it?
Because that doesn't actually achieve extinction, right? So we have to. You can't do it on an individual basis, right? We have to work towards a system that forcefully does extinction of all life, right? You can't just ask individuals to do it. That doesn't work.
So, okay, so by that matter, you want groups to do it?
No, so we're not asking people to self-harm or anything like that. We're gathering activists together who are going to make carrying out extinction possible.
So you don't want individuals, you don't want groups. I don't quite get it.
Yeah, we want activists. That's what we want to get together. People who are going to work towards making the best extinction possible happen.
So activists like you that say they want to do it, but
To
they
do
don't.
what? To do what exactly? So when
Well,
you say it, that's a very loaded. What are you talking about?
well, like you said, it's exterminate. It's just
Okay,
that's
it sounds like you're drunk, maybe having a psychotic episode or something. We're going to move on to somebody who can actually articulate and hopefully think, in a clearer way. Bringing on Jakes next. And if anybody else wants to join the queue, feel free to do so. Hello, how you doing?
Greetings and salutations, my fellow comrade. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, so I was thinking, different people have different chemical imbalances, right? In the brain. So, what do you think about people who generally enjoy life? What do you think about people who generally like taking the dogs out for a walk? Because, I understand some people can be depressed.
Yeah, it's not
about
worth it. It's
life.
not worth it, basically, right? Having some people take their dogs out for a walk is not worth it if the price is, children being tortured, animals being tortured, etc.
So, what I'm understanding is that you're a full-blown nihilist, right? You subscribe to nihilism, right?
I don't really think about nihilism, so I don't really care about it. But I would say there is no meaning, there is no God that's giving some meaning or anything like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. So the reason why you want total extinction of the human species is because of the suffering that we have to endure, right?
It's not just the human species. Our movement is non-discriminatory, so we support helping all life, regardless of the species.
Oh, so what actual measures are you and other activists trying to come up with to ensure that total extinction is possible in the future? Like, are we going to make everyone sterile? Are we going to make everyone not be able to reproduce again? What do you think might be the solution? Because as you said earlier on, you don't want people to self-harm and things of that nature.
So it's pretty simple. So we grow the movement with peaceful activism until we have enough people to take over the world, start running the world ethically, which needs to happen anyway. And then we start with animal extinction and researching the most vast and thorough extinction possible, which will require advancing science and technology to their limits in order to do the best prevention possible of billions of more years of suffering. And so that means it could be universe-wide potentially. We just have to determine how much extinction we can do and then do it. So not rushing it, but instead doing the opposite, doing the most thorough, the best extinction scientifically possible. So not rushing it, but doing the best one. And so when it comes to human extinction, we need humanity for the mission right now. But if, as soon as humanity is no longer useful and no longer needs to continue existing in danger, no longer needs to keep suffering, that's when we'll make humanity go extinct. And that'll either be like at the end of the mission, or potentially we can replace ourselves with robots and AI, make humanity go extinct, and they can continue on doing, universe-wide extinction. But for humanity, we won't be using sterilization. Well, it's hard to say exactly what's going to happen, but I would imagine we'd be using euthanasia, because sterilization only helps the next generation. Sterilization doesn't help anyone who's suffering today or tomorrow. So euthanasia is better than sterilization.
Okay, so but what do you think about bettering the quality of life using science and like trying to reduce suffering?
Yeah,
so
we
that
should do
don't
that as
have to
well.
go
We
extinct?
should do that as So we would be working towards like a utopia for humanity, improving it in a smarter way. Because again, the world is run by criminals and crazy people, warlords, dictators. So it needs to be run in a better way, an ethical way that's better for everyone. But we can't promise that you'll get to enjoy that utopia forever. It could be thousands of years, it could be hundreds of years. Just as soon as humanity no longer needs to exist and to keep suffering, that's when we'll make sure that they don't suffer anymore.
Okay, so I gotta ask you this question. Do you think the human consciousness was just an evolutionary mistake that happened? Like, do you think this wasn't supposed to happen? Like, it was
I
just
don't think it's an
a mistake?
evolutionary mistake. I think it's an evolutionary advantage, right? It exists because we've evolved it for the sake of survival and reproduction. It's a bad thing that it exists. Human intelligence, in a sense, is a good thing that it exists because we can use it to end all of the suffering for everyone.
Yeah, so my suggestion was just like, let's use science to try not to end, but try and reduce suffering so that people at least can be happy. Because I'm a very big anti-natalist. I also don't think I'm gonna bring a child to work for this brutal capitalist in the future. So
the thing
my
is,
suggestion
reducing suffering is unethical, basically. It's like reducing slavery. It's saying like the money we get from slavery is too good, too tempting. I'm too addicted to it, so we can't end slavery. But we can reduce it a little bit, maybe. No, you shouldn't reduce slavery. You should end slavery. You shouldn't reduce child abuse. You should end it.
end it completely.
Because if you're saying, let's keep a little bit of child abuse, just because we benefit from it, basically, then it's not ethical, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you personally, will you opt out for euthanasia in the future?
Would I?
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going so that I can help others, right? So understanding that life is bad, that we'd be better off not existing so that we can be safe from suffering. It means that, what's the point of existing? Why should I stay alive? And the only answer is essentially to help others and to work towards a universal safety for all, essentially.
Yeah, I kind of get you. Like, honestly, I would prefer that I was never born before, but I don't. Honestly, I still want to live. I don't know for what purpose, for what reason. But as I said, I'm an analyst. I don't think there's a purpose or anything. But I'm just trying to create my own purpose and find moments of joy. That's basically what I'm doing. But what I'm certain of is that I'm not gonna bring a child into this evil, cruel world to suffer. So, because capitalism is very brutal right now, as we speak. So. Yeah, but why do we want to end suffering? Okay, what type of suffering?
Well, why do you want to be an
suffering?
antinatalist? Why do you want to be an antinatalist?
Because I don't want to bring kids in the world.
Right. So why should? But so you don't care about anyone else's kid having to come in the world?
What do you mean?
Well, that's what extinctionism is about. It's about antinatalism is only caring about your own child, but not caring about anyone else, basically. Whereas extinctionism is caring about everyone instead of nobody, which is what antinatalism is.
Okay, I'm reading this comment. Jakes, you're lucky not for being abused and having a shitty environment. I can say I have the best environment because I'm from Africa. I'm from Kenya, so I cannot say I live under the best human conditions. But I don't know why I just have this will to live. I'm just curious about how things are gonna turn out. That is the thing that keeps me moving. I don't think there's anything else. But
would you not think we should, end all suffering with total extinction?
The question is, what kind of suffering are you talking about? Can you elaborate? Is it emotional suffering?
If you wouldn't bring your child into this world, then it's the same thing. What don't you get?
I
Look,
think we could be
if you have a
safer.
child, they could be tortured, right? They could have the worst life ever.
Yeah,
But that's happening to other people. So
true.
we should help them as well, not just your own child.
Yeah, yeah, true. I agree with that. True.
So antinatalism doesn't actually help anyone. It actually causes more suffering. Because you see, humanity is actually the solution. We need more humans to make extinction possible sooner. And for every human that exists, it actually prevents millions of wild animals from existing and suffering. So it's actually a good thing. For every human, there is less suffering in the world and more potential to end all suffering.
True, true. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. But the final question is that do you think this will be something possible in the near or far future?
Yeah,
Considering the fact that people who run this world are evil and they're just trying to like control us and put us into labor. So what do you think will have to happen for this to be a reality and not just an assumption?
well, it's not just an assumption. It's a movement, right? So we have activists, we have people from Kenya, we have people from all over Africa doing activism to grow the movement until we have enough people to start running the world ethically and to start doing extinction.
Hmm.
So it's not a philosophy, it's not a thought experiment, it's an actual movement. We are prepared to carry out extinction ourselves, and we're working towards doing it.
Hmm. Okay, so and you personally, what makes you okay? What makes you live day after day, considering the fact that you know we are all suffering? Oh, so your whole purpose right now is to help other people, right? Like in the cause of extinction. That's your
Yep.
life purpose right now. So at what stage in your life did you start having that thought? Like,
When the movement invited me a
oh,
year
okay.
ago.
Oh, okay. So prior to that, you're just living a normal life. Uh, just moving on with life. Was that the
Yeah.
case?
Yep.
Okay, okay. Thank you for that conversation. It has been very, very insightful.
All right. Thank you for coming up.
All right.
Okay, moving on. And just a little update. So I explained at the start of the stream that I'm going to be multitasking. That's why we've got a different camera angle, because I am trying to design some merch for the movement, basically. So yeah, we're working on that. And tell you what, let's see. Is there a way to flip the camera? Yeah, there is. So the only thing is, right, I've not been able to do very well at finding hoodie websites which allow you to have like, things all over. So essentially you have a little box here and that's all you can use. You can't go outside of it as far as I know. So this is what I've got so far. I've only just started doing it. This is what I'm thinking. Maybe like peaceful activism only at the bottom or something. I'm thinking it should be black and the text should be white. And, we'll see what else we can do with it. But yeah, I'll give you guys another update later on. I'm going to keep working on this while we continue on with some debates. So let's move on to the next person. We've got Mumu coming up. Hello, how you doing?
Hello, how are you? I'm okay. I have a few questions for you.
Yep.
Because you said for your movement, you're gonna need activists, and eventually, with enough, you want to run the world.
Yeah.
But how are you gonna achieve that? Because to run the world, you need to be in specific positions, right? To run the world. So how do you think you can achieve that?
Yeah, well, we just need to get enough people together until we can make it happen, basically.
Right, like take down the government like that, right? Like what the French people did.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, my next
hopefully it will be less violent, but hopefully.
Right, I agree. We don't need wars and shit anymore. Everyone is being impacted by that. My next question is about religious people, because certain religions believe in doomsday and end of the world, and that's how humanity will cease to exist and all that. So how are you going to convince them to agree with your movement? Because I know they mostly fear God than human, to be honest. So how are you gonna do that?
Yeah, well, So essentially, we've got two options. We can either just kind of deal with it, or we can try to find a way to cure them. So we are actually researching cures for, irrationality. And that would be the ideal situation. We might be able to educate religious people better, right? It's possible that we can improve the atheistic education that's going to, help them realize that religion is wrong. But it's also possible that it's not just about education. It's also about their genetic brain structures, right? Their level of intelligence. So in the same way that, a monkey wouldn't be able to understand difficult concepts, unfortunately, the same is true for humans. And that's why they believe in religion. And so we would look into solving that problem, improving genetics for humanity. And so, yeah, we need smarter, better humans, and we're going to be looking into ways to do that. So genetically is going to be probably the most important thing, right? Making sure that future generations are smarter and better. And in terms of the old people, yeah, we might be able to help them. We can look into it.
Okay, my final question is, let's say once you've achieved your goal, how would the process take place? Would it go like in batches, or is it like, a nuclear bomb and everyone just disappears? I can't imagine that, like how the process takes place.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really need to worry about it too much. But basically, again, we would, if we are the government, we would start doing euthanasia bit by bit for animals. It wouldn't be one big event or anything like that. We won't be using bombs. It would probably be like a gas or something. And then, yeah, we would do it bit by bit, because technically you can't actually remove all of the animals immediately. So if all life on Earth disappeared right now, except for humanity, there's a good chance the planet would become uninhabitable. So we can only remove certain animals until we find a technology that can replace them, to regulate the gases on the planet or whatever else those animals were helping to do. So yeah, we can't do it all in one go. It has to be bit by bit. It has to be done intelligently. We have to think about the ecosystems and which ones we can get rid of, which ones we still need. How much of it we can get rid of. And so yeah, we'd be starting with animals, hopefully working towards a planet with no animals, and then also researching the most vast and thorough extinction possible. So that's going to take research, science, pushing technology and science to its absolute limits in order to do the most thorough extinction possible, so as to prevent billions of years of more suffering. So we have to be as thorough as possible. We can't rush it. And if we have to survive for 1,000 more years, 1,000,000 more years, in order to do the job properly and to make sure that we don't have billions of more years of suffering, then that's the right thing to do. So there's no point rushing extinction. It makes more sense to make sure you get it right. And in terms of humanity, we will simply euthanize them, put them to sleep once they're no longer necessary. And so, even if you want to keep living, you probably won't get that choice, really, because it's actually against your own best interests. You'd be safer not existing. And so we'll only allow life to exist if there's a moral need for it, right? So humans, we need them to do extinction, to do the science, to make it all possible. As long as they're no longer necessary, that's when they should be made safe. And it won't be with sterilization, because that only helps the next generation. It doesn't make the current generation safe. So you have to just use euthanasia, and it won't be optional. It will be done as fast as possible, in a sense, because providing safety is not something that you should, wait around for. It should be done as soon as can be done.
Okay, promise this is the last question. How are you going to make sure everyone goes through the process and nobody cheats through the extinction process and start their own population?
Yeah. Well, realistically, this is all going to happen hundreds of years from now, thousands of years from now. So we'll just have to leave it to them to find a way, right? We can't really predict or come up with a system right now. Yeah, we could come up with loads of different systems right now, but there's just no need to do that. We don't think it's going to be difficult to Well, even if it is difficult to find a way to make sure nobody, cheats, like you said, we'll still just have to do that anyway. So that's something that we'll look at in the future. There's no point worrying about that right now.
Okay, thank you so much for explaining. I hope you get to achieve your goal soon.
Thank you, Mumu, for coming up. And yeah, extinctionism is about saying, yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, to a certain extent, because you can't predict the future, right? People are saying, well, how exactly are you going to take over the world? What's your revolution going to look like? But again, 50 years from now, for example, the world will be completely different. The governments will be completely different. Society, technology, the way the world works will be completely different. So it is essentially a waste of time to try and come up with a full plan for how you're going to do this or that or this, when it's not about that right now, and you can't predict that anyway. It's a waste of time. Things will change, and then your plan will become irrelevant. So what makes sense now is to grow the movement, to just get the people together, and the more people we get on board, the closer we get to being able to do an extinction or a revolution. And yeah, that should be planned. The planning for that should be done closer to the time, because again, the technology is going to be completely different 50 years from now, 100, 1,000 years from now, right? Any plan that you make today for, a future revolution is just useless, right? And the same with extinction methodology, right? The point is to do the science, to find the best methods, right? To not try and just sit around and think of them now. Oh, we could do this and this and this. Well, what's the point of thinking about that, right? That method is probably not going to be used, right? Just the first one that pops into your head. No, we should leave it to the science, right? Let the scientists say, okay, we've looked into it. This is the best way to do it. So there's no point just sitting around saying, let's just come up with some random ideas for how we could do extinction. That doesn't achieve anything. That's just unhelpful. The only helpful thing is to do activism, to grow the movement. That's the only thing which is strictly necessary, right? To grow the movement, get more people together who say, yes, total extinction is the right thing. It's necessary. It's the only right thing. We have to do it to help the victims. We have to do it to prevent suffering, to provide safety, to make sure nobody is trapped in a life of pure hell. Nobody is being tortured. No animals or people are being tortured horrifically, because extreme suffering is too terrible and extreme to allow. Right? It's too terrible to accept. It's too terrible to allow. It's not fair. It's not right. It's the worst thing. It's the only bad thing. And it can be so extreme, so severe that it's just mind-blowingly horrific. And essentially, you can say, well, I just don't care. I don't care how badly anyone suffers. But that's just being a cold, uncaring, selfish person, right? So if you care about being a good person, then it means, yeah, you should care about the suffering of others. And you shouldn't just blindly accept it, right? Most people aren't even thinking about whether or not the suffering in the world is acceptable, how bad it is, do we need to help? They just don't care. They're not thinking about this. So, I've just put out a video basically saying the same thing, but, it's not that people think there is a happy balance in the world and that, the suffering is balanced out by the happiness. They don't actually think that. It's more that they just don't care. So, yeah, let's start caring, let's start being good people, and let's start caring about the right thing. Right now, there is nothing that will make people care, right? They will never become good people. You just can't make them do it, right? People will continue to be selfish and to not do the right thing. Again, you can make people agree with extinction, and we do it every day, right? Every single day in our debates, people say, yeah, okay, you know what? It's right, basically, but I just don't care. And it's like, okay, well, do better, basically. Start caring. Start thinking about the victims and, if it's fair to them or not, right? Start thinking, should we be helping them? Or should we just watch Netflix and have more pizza, right? Is the suffering acceptable? If not, then do something about it, right? Don't just say, yeah, I agree with extinction, but, I don't agree enough to actually help. Try and help, right? Nobody else is helping, right? There's essentially no one, right? Stop assuming that the world is being taken care of, that it's all being run and operated, and you don't have to worry about it. That's wrong. It's being run by psychopaths right now, and if you understand that, then you are the tiny minority that can actually help. Right? The majority of the world supports cruelty and extreme exploitation. Right? They don't care about animals or victims. They just simply don't care at all. Right? There's no amount of suffering that could happen in the world that would make people care. And that's just a fact. Okay, let that sink in. There's no amount that will make people care. It doesn't matter how bad it gets, how much torture there is. There's just no amount that will ever make people care, ever. Right? So do better than that. Right? There should be an amount that makes you say, okay, this is terrible. I have to do something. So do activism. Do the right thing. Work towards a suffering-free world. Right? Okay, let's get some people up. James, whenever I argue with pro-lifers, they say suffering builds character. How do I respond to this? Just say that, basically when they say that, they are forgetting about the fact that extreme suffering exists. So we have to start understanding that they're not always saying stuff like that in order to be, rude or cheeky, or it's not that they're not thinking about it properly, Sasha. That's what you need to understand. So yeah, they just immediately strawman it in their own brain and say, well, suffering can be good for you though, right? So they just immediately don't think about the extreme suffering. It doesn't even enter into the thought process, right? The only thing that gets into that thought is, oh, well, suffering can be helpful though, right? So yeah, pro-lifers, what you have to understand is that they do have brain damage, basically, that prevents them from thinking about suffering in a correct and accurate way. So there is interference in the brain when they try to think about it. And yeah, I went into detail on my last stream yesterday, actually. But there's a whole psychological structure in the brain, a physical structure, which prevents people from thinking about this properly. And you just have to keep knocking on that door and tearing down the barriers. But those barriers are there. And they're frustrating to deal with, for sure. Tem, hello. Are you coming up?
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Awesome. Yeah. So I was reading your manifesto on your website, and I found several kind of commitments that you're kind of basing this on. Things like atheism, materialism, I believe a type of consequentialism. And I guess my question was, it would probably be difficult to kind of follow this movement if you're not kind of already committed to these philosophical positions. And so I guess, how would you respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's lots of different reasons that you can find to agree with extinction. So just pick one, basically. And yeah, like you say, people are going to have different opinions, but I think, the end of all suffering is kind of a universal thing. It should hopefully transcend a lot of, people's personal opinions and things like that.
Okay, I see. And then I guess my next question would just be, I guess many people would disagree with this movement for, however long humans will exist. And, I guess maybe you kind of addressed this earlier, but like, of those people, would they just be forced to then agree with, or like forced to become extinct then?
Yeah. Yeah, in the same way that animals will not agree to extinction, you have to make that decision for them, basically.
Okay, interesting. And also, I assume you hold like an extremely high value on like suffering as opposed to like the experience of the inverse of suffering.
Yeah, I mean,
and
so most people have it the wrong way round now, right? They think happiness and pleasure is the most important thing, whereas they don't care about suffering, right? They just don't care about it. So that's why they're happy to. You can see a perfect example of this, right? They're happy to torture animals and eat them for the pleasure. So the torture, extreme suffering of others is worthwhile. It's an acceptable trade if you get a little bit of pleasure. So it's effectively the most immoral that you can be, is what humanity is. And the reason for that is that they are animals, and they still have lots of animal psychology in their brains, right? And brain wiring. So they are wired to be animalistic, to not care about others, to be selfish, to focus on their own survival, to exploit the environment, right? And to not care about suffering. So caring about suffering is one of the most important sort of differences, essentially. And humans evolved, like animals also did, to not care about suffering. Because if you do care about suffering, then essentially it makes you smarter in a way, because it makes you more responsible. And that's bad for reproduction. Reproduction wants life to be animalistic, irresponsible, selfish, basically. That leads to more reproduction, basically. So, yeah, I mean, we're dealing with a situation where most humans, over 99.9%, are effectively mentally disabled and are causing extreme suffering, running the world irresponsibly. You've got dictators, warlords running the world. So yeah, we basically live in the worst world possible because we're still animals, and because humans are prevented from doing better, right? Their minds have evolved to make them animalistic, to make them not want to do better, but to focus on primal desires and needs, like your comfort. So in a sense, you could say that the primal pyramid of needs, or whatever you want to call it, for humans, it's massive, right? Before they're able to start caring about other people or other life or the world, their sort of primal needs comes first, right? And it's a massive tower of selfishness that they want complete fulfillment before they care about anyone else, basically, unfortunately. But yeah, we're working on these problems. We're exploring them, looking into solutions. So there is hope, but it's good to understand, how it works.
Okay, sure. Well, I mean, I appreciate you answering my questions, and thanks for explaining your philosophy further. I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you, Tem. Thank you for coming up. All right, let's see how we're getting on with the design of the hoodie. So I've got it black now, and then let me flip the camera for you guys. There we go. Now, some people have been hating on it already, which is fair, and I did explain that I've been quite disappointed with the options for hoodies and stuff. Like I've been looking at a few different services, a few different websites that let you design a hoodie and start selling it, and t-shirts, and they all kind of limit you to a small box on the front, right? You can't really just go wild and design whatever you want, wherever you want, unfortunately. So we'll see what we can do with this. Put it in the Discord, maybe we can help, yeah. All right, let's get some more debates going. Let's get some more people on. We've got Shanna in the queue. Let's try and bring them up. We've also got the Mollian from Attack on Titan. Okay, hello, how you doing?
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, good, how are you?
I'm good. Are you doing okay today? You feeling good?
Yeah, good. Yeah, decent.
You're not
Do you have any
suffering?
questions?
Yeah, just about suffering.
Yeah, go for it.
Are you suffering today?
Yeah.
You're suffering a lot?
Oh, yeah.
You want to end that suffering?
I want to end all suffering more than I want to end my own suffering.
So you want to end my suffering more than yours?
Yeah.
Why? Why do you care about me more than you?
Because, we care about those that can't help themselves, basically.
Well, I care
And
about
we care
you.
about
and
those that can, but don't.
should I care
So
more about
it's
you?
not just about you, right? So ending your suffering isn't limited to just being about you, right? So in the same way that extinction isn't just about removing the currently existing life, it's about preventing billions of more years of extreme suffering. It's about preventing reproduction, preventing you from harming anyone else or abusing a child. So, giving people freedom, even if they promise they're a good person, isn't actually a good thing, because they
Have you
abuse
abused?
that freedom.
Have you abused any children?
No, but people do, right?
But you're doing your part by not abusing children. You're not causing suffering, right? Are you causing suffering? Like how much suffering are you responsible for?
Yeah, every human is causing suffering by existing.
Like you
But
specifically.
they also reduce suffering at the same time.
I know, but I'm talking about you. Like you, what suffering are you responsible for? What are you doing to make people suffer?
Well, I guess, anyone that's working for you, like you've got, factories in China, maybe they're suffering in the factory.
But you have a factory in China?
No, but there are factories in China.
I know. I'm talking about you, though. What suffering are you responsible for?
Well, it'll be your suffering that I'm responsible for if you don't move on to a better topic.
Motherfucker, I'm asking you, like, what suffering are you causing on people?
Why do you care?
It's an easy question.
Why do you care?
Because you're talking about suffering.
That's not a good answer.
Okay, we can move on if you don't want to. We can do something else. But yeah,
Do you admit that that's not a good answer?
what's not a good answer?
You've forgotten what you said?
No, I mean, you didn't answer my question. I didn't think I had to answer your questions.
You didn't think you had to answer my question.
I mean, not if you're not answering my questions. Why am I going to answer your fucking question?
Anyway, Marlian, thank you for coming up and asking,
Hey, fuck you.
invasive questions about my personal life. I always appreciate that. Yeah, make it about me and, irrelevant things like that instead of about the world and what's really going on. Good idea. Maybe not, though. Okay, so there's nobody in the queue right now. It is empty. We don't even have a troll. We would go back to Marlian, but, he'll just ask more personal questions. So if anybody else has questions, wants to debate, slap that button to join the queue like you'd slap your own mother, and let's get you up on the stage. Will Steve ever come on? He has tried in the past, but TikTok is actually banned in India. So Steve is the creator of the movement, the pro-extinction movement, but he's not actually able to use TikTok. It's IP banned in India. So if you want to watch Steve's YouTube channel, you can go and do that. It's just search pro-extinction on YouTube. And on the pro-extinction YouTube channel, me and Steve both do a live stream on camera podcast. We have 27 episodes, and we go into a lot of the science behind extinction as well, so you guys can all check that out. You can also talk to Steve on the WhatsApp or the Discord. He's a bit prickly though, so be careful. Are you a nihilist? No, not really. I mean, look, okay, I don't really care about the word nihilism, or I've never really cared to really think about it that much, but if it means that you don't believe in bullshit meaning existing, because of Jesus or something, then yeah, you can call me a nihilist if you want, right? I don't believe there is any meaning in the world that justifies suffering, right? That's the only reason to sort of mention this argument for people, really, is to say, oh, well, what about the meaning? What about the meaning in the world? What, so that some vague meaning justifies, children being tortured somehow. Shah, hello, how you doing? Let's invite Shah up on the stage, see if she'll join us today. Are you going to have kids? It's up to Shah, basically. So let's see. Do we have any more questions in the comments? So again, we don't have anybody in the queue right now, but I would love to get some more discussions face to face going. So if you want to debate, if you want to ask some questions, if you want to discuss, slap that button like you'd slap your own mother, and let's get you on. Someone's asking, do you have kids? No, I don't. But having more kids is actually better for extinction. So not having children is the worst type of extinction possible because you're working towards human extinction. But human extinction is a bad thing, right? That's not a good thing at all right now. In the future it will be. But you see, we need to do animal extinction first. And so that could take a very long time. And if humanity goes extinct first, or, even if it becomes half in size, right? If there's only 4 billion people or 1 billion people, then it makes it a lot harder to do extinction for animals and for the rest of the world. So humanity has to keep going. Humanity is the solution right now, and human extinction will be the last extinction, right? So we have to help those who can't help themselves. You're saying kids are not needed for that, but they are. We need humans. Humans are needed for extinction, right? Imagine if humanity went extinct today, right? There would be no one to help animals. There would be nobody to do a thorough animal extinction, right? You probably not going to be able to get all of them, okay, if there's only a few people on the planet. So you have to do the job properly. And essentially, people that support antinatalism or support human extinction first, they don't care about animals, basically. So it's discrimination. And the only way to not do discrimination with extinction is to work towards the best extinction possible, the most vast and thorough extinction possible, right? So most life in the universe, over 99% of life in the universe is suffering terribly and cannot do anything about it, right? Animals get eaten alive, most of them as babies. It's terrible for them, and they can't do their own extinction. So, if you think human extinction is more important, then you don't care about animals, and you would happily see them suffer for billions of more years, right? Which is discrimination. So we have to work towards the most vast and thorough, the least discriminatory extinction possible. And don't forget, we're trying to prevent billions of years of suffering. So, to make sure that billions of years of suffering never happen again, we can't rush it, right? You're dealing with trillions of years of suffering. So, do you want to, risk doing a half job on that? No, we should do the best job possible, the maximum prevention of evolution ever happening again, maximum prevention of life ever developing again, and maximum prevention of life on other planets ever developing if we can. So, humanity is the solution, basically. And, the best extinction possible is the solution. And you can't get to that without humanity. It could take thousands of years to engineer the best extinction possible, right? It could take thousands of years to do a proper job. But if we do human extinction now, then we can't do a proper job, right? Most people that support human extinction or antinatalism, basically their vision for the world is, humans gracefully decide to stop existing, right? They gracefully decide to stop reproducing, which is a fantasy in of itself, right? Humans are never going to just decide to stop reproducing, right? They're addicted to life. They're addicted to pleasure. They're addicted to exploiting the environment and animals. So they're never just going to give that up, right? Can you really imagine Donald Trump saying, I'm sick of life now. I support extinction. No, he's having a blast, right? He's playing golf with billionaires and stuff. So human extinction is never going to happen if it's voluntary anyway. So the idea that, we could just do extinction by just not having kids is a joke, right? That doesn't help animals. It doesn't help anyone else's children. Humans will just keep reproducing and forcing each other to suffer for millions or billions of more years. And so we need a universal system, a powerful organization and movement that is going to be dedicated to providing safety for everyone, not half-arsing it, not doing half a job, but doing the best job physically possible, right? Most people want to rush the extinction. It's like they can't be bothered. It's a lot of effort. Oh, it's going to take a long time. We should do the best extinction possible. We shouldn't rush it, right? And so, if humanity has to keep going for thousands of years, if humanity has to keep reproducing for millions of years, right, then it's still the right thing to do. So most people have discriminatory, limited empathy, which explains this phenomenon. It explains why they want to rush the extinction, right? Their empathy is only for themselves or for their own child, so they'll do antinatalism. They don't have empathy for animals, which is why they don't care about animal extinction. They don't have empathy for future life, which is why they don't care about doing a thorough extinction to make sure that life doesn't come back, right? Most of these people would do the worst extinction possible, where, maybe in the best case scenario, they remove life on Earth, but they don't do a proper job. Animals are still living and suffering. So, we need to work towards the most vast and thorough extinction possible, the best extinction, and that's the only fair thing. Because if you rush the extinction, if you don't do maximum technology, if you don't develop new technology, new science that no one's even ever thought of before, right? If you don't push science and extinction to its limits, then you're taking risks with the safety of trillions of years of future life, basically. It's not responsible. So the only responsible thing to do when you're trying to prevent, billions or trillions of years of extreme cruelty and suffering is to do it properly. And again, if we have to survive and reproduce for 1 million years, then that's fine, right? You should be totally prepared for that to happen, right? Humanity in the best conditions with the least suffering, continue the most capability of helping others. Hell yeah, we should carry on for as long as we need to, right? We should absolutely think of the animals and their extreme suffering as being more important than ours. And so to that end, we should be willing to suffer as much as it takes to help other life and to do the best extinction possible, right? But most people are not willing to do that. They want to rush it. They want to just do it in an individualistic way where you don't have a kid, which again doesn't help animals, right? That will not, being an antinatalist will never help animals, right? If you're an antinatalist, then you literally don't care about animals. That's the only possibility, right? Because if you were an antinatalist, you would say, if you did care about animals, you would say, we need to find the best solution to help animals. And, you not having a kid does literally nothing to help animals, right? So start realizing humanity is the solution, right? People are constantly demonizing humanity. People are constantly saying we need to get rid of humanity. They're the bad ones. They're the evil ones. Humanity is the solution, right? We are the heroes, essentially, in this story. So you need to start realizing that. And so to that end, we need to start encouraging humans and people to do better, to be the solution, to be the heroes, to be something worth respecting, right? So let's, encourage humanity to do better instead of insulting it and saying, humanity is terrible, it needs to go. Yeah, there's a lot of terrible things, but we should encourage humanity to be the best it can be, right? So that we can help animals, okay? And other humans and everything else. But so we need to do the best we can and then have nothing, essentially. So we don't want to just, rush it or, hate on people or advocate for hatred and anger. We need to advocate for compassion, love, responsibility, caring about animals. And one of the best ways to do this is to expose suffering itself as well, right? So most people are not thinking about suffering. They're not thinking about extreme suffering. As Sasha commented in the chat earlier, most people, when you talk to them about extinction, they can only be limited to thinking about types of suffering which seem justifiable. Okay, so most people are not able to discuss unacceptable suffering. And so they will just strawman it immediately and say, well, I went to the gym yesterday and I feel great. And it's like, okay, that has nothing to do with the fact that animals are being tortured, right? Nothing. So, but that's because humans really just, they're unable to consider and talk about extreme suffering properly. And part of the reason for that is that they evolved to be incapable of thinking about suffering in a correct way, right? Specifically. So the more you think about suffering, the more you're able to understand it, the smarter you are, basically. And it is kind of a gateway to higher intelligence, more rationality, essentially, because it's kind of the missing piece of the puzzle for human intelligence in a large way, right? Because most of humanity has just been about ignoring suffering. So just completely ignorant to the existence of suffering, completely ignorant to how bad it is for themselves as well, right? Their own future, their own safety, and completely ignorant to the safety of their own children, where they just don't care how badly they suffer. So it is an evolutionary thing. And understanding suffering and exploring suffering is essentially the gateway to a better world, a better mind, a healthier mind, right? Because again, that's what's missing. That's the missing piece of the puzzle, is understanding that life is a bad thing and that extreme suffering does exist and that it's not acceptable. So people are living in a fantasy where they ignore the existence of extreme suffering, right? They don't like to think about it, or they don't know about it, they've never heard about it. So they just live in a fantasy bubble where the world is fine and everything's being taken care of, because it's easier as well, right? It's much, what's more depressing, or what nicer to think about, right? Would you rather think that everything's fine, yeah, everything's just fine. I can just play some video games or do whatever I want because everything's fine. Would you rather think like that? Or would you rather be like, actually, there's extreme cruelty going on, insanely intense suffering and pain and misery, lives of pure hell, where they need help, right? They do need help. And it's not that, there's no reason to help them, or that it's, most people just don't realize that they need help, essentially, and that it is the right thing to provide that help, to make sure that there is a suffering-free world. Most people don't realize it or don't care about it. And yeah, it's to understand the world properly, it can be a bit depressing, right? You understand that essentially all of humanity is completely mentally disabled. The world shouldn't exist. We'd be better off not existing. Animals are just being tortured all around us. Humans are being, children and people are being tortured all around us. So essentially, the reality, the truth is that we are effectively in hell. Okay. Now, again, I'm an atheist, but we can use words like hell and evil to describe. Okay. So it's useful for description. So we are effectively in hell. Yeah. Let's mute this person. Okay. Balora is muted. Right. So we're effectively in hell. And that is the truth. That is the reality. But people don't like to think that, right? Because to accept that you're in hell is essentially, it's quite an uncomfortable thing to do. And, especially when you realize that, you can no longer have your comfortable life, right? It's over, it's finished, it's done. You now have moral obligation to help deal with hell, basically. So most people would rather say, no, we're not in hell. Everything's fine, and I don't need to do anything. But the reality is we're effectively in hell. Children, animals, people are being tortured horrifically all around us. It's not okay. They need help. They shouldn't be suffering like this. And we should make sure that nobody is suffering. It's the only right thing to do. And anything else is evil and selfish. But, people don't want to understand that truth. They don't want to understand that reality. They would much rather stay in their bubble, stay in their fantasy where everything's fine. No one's really suffering that badly. Basically, they want to just pretend that they're in heaven. They want to pretend that they're in paradise, that nobody needs help. There's no moral obligation on you to help the world, even though there is. So this kind of like creates free will in a sense, right? In a way, okay? Because if you have no moral obligation, then you can do whatever you want, right? You're completely free to do whatever you want. But if you have moral obligation, if you accept it, if you understand it, and you know that they need help and that they need our moral help and obligation, then suddenly your free will is gone, basically, right? Suddenly you now have an obligation which is going to essentially eat into your free will. It's going to consume your free will, essentially, and mean that you can't just do whatever you want, right? So if you could just do whatever you want, then you could just do no activism. You could, choose to never help anyone ever. Whereas if you, and that's what most people are doing, right? They would rather just be able to do whatever they want, whenever they want, and to never have to be responsible for helping others, never have to be responsible for the world or anyone but themselves. So, what else can you really call that apart from an animal, basically? So we need to do better than being animals. We need to essentially have responsibility for the world. And, as long as people will continue to say, I'm only responsible for myself, I'm not going to do anything for the world, then it guarantees the worst world possible, right? And that is the current situation. That's why, we have Donald Trump, billionaires, warlords running the world, okay? It's because people say, I don't care, right? If people actually started caring about the world, we would have a better world. But most people don't care. So if you care about the world, then you have to do activism, take action to make the world a better place, right? It's not good enough to just simply care. That doesn't actually achieve anything if you're not going to do anything about it. So, imagine if everybody cared about the world and all of the life in it and all of the suffering and cared for every last individual like we do, right? Then the world would be a much better place, regardless of extinction, right? So, and obviously we would work towards extinction. But yeah, again, regardless of extinction, everybody should be trying to make the world a better place and coming together and trying to think, right, what is good for the world. But until you accept that moral obligation, right, as long as you continue to refuse it and reject it and to prioritize your free will and your ability to do whatever you want whenever you want, right, as long as you're still doing that, then you're guaranteeing that essentially you will never think about the world properly because you have no reason to do so. So most people, this is true, right? They essentially, to think about what the world actually needs and to come to the conclusion of extinction, right, you have to think about it a lot. You have to care about it. But most people don't care about it because they haven't accepted the moral obligation, right? So they don't care about the world. They're not thinking about what the world needs. And it's actually a huge inconvenience for people to think about what the world needs, what's right and what's wrong. It's very inconvenient for them, right? It's like, oh, what? It's like handing them a 10,000 word essay for homework or something. It's like, oh my God, you can't be serious. I've got to work all this out now. I've got to learn about it and, try and help others and stuff. I'm busy with Netflix, right? So that's kind of the problem, is that people will just not do any activism, right? Imagine if instead of being NPC sheeps, everybody was doing some type of activism. Again, regardless of extinction, right? Imagine if everybody was doing some sort of activism. Right? The world would be an infinitely better place, right? Infinitely better. But as long as you keep saying, no, I'm only responsible for myself, I will not use my free time to help others or the world ever, right? As long as you keep saying that, the world will continue to be a shithole, right? Because you're not the only one doing it. Everyone's doing it, right? So extinctionists are essentially the only people that have said, I will help the world, right? I will take on the moral obligation, and I will do everything I can to help others. But again, most people don't want that. So try and be better, right? And, even if you just dip your toe in and do a little bit of activism, it's better than nothing. Okay, Odd K is asking a question. What do you want? James, you are so hot, everyone would believe anything you say. Oh, well, thank you. But ideally you should be thinking for yourself, right? Some people do just blindly accept what I say, but we really want you to be using your own brain. Hello, how are you doing?
Good. How's it going?
Good, thank you.
Why do you think this? What's the argument?
So the right thing to do is to have a zero tolerance policy on suffering. And that means extinction, basically. Right now, people just don't care how much suffering there is, but they either don't care or they assume that there's some sort of magical happy balance, right, which doesn't actually exist. So actually, no suffering is acceptable, and we should provide maximum safety from suffering. And only extinction can do that, right? There's no way to actually provide safety for life, like 100% safety with a guarantee. It's physically impossible, basically. So the only answer, the only solution is total extinction. Life shouldn't exist. It would be better off not existing. And it's effectively hell, where only the very lucky few, a tiny, tiny minority, actually benefit. And so everyone else is being tortured horrifically. Most life on the planet is animals being eaten alive. So it's not actually a good thing. Life is a bad thing. And it's only some, twisted psychology that has got people into thinking that it's okay and that we should just ignore all of the suffering in the world and not care if our children suffer or if anyone else suffers.
Okay. So would you say that if it was up to you, you would force people to go with this plan?
Yeah. That's what our movement is working towards. So it's a
You don't think
movement.
that?
We have about 100 activists, and we're growing globally. And we are working towards carrying out a non-optional, forceful total extinction.
Okay. Don't you think that that is in itself causing a great deal of suffering?
No, not a significant amount. And essentially, extinction doesn't
Huh?
actually cause. Yeah, extinction doesn't actually cause any suffering. It's a bit of a myth or a misconception.
No, no, no. I think you're confusing what I'm saying there. Okay, would you say that most people have like a very invested interest in survival?
Nature has programmed them to do that, even though it's
Mm-hmm.
against their own best interest, right? Because essentially, that
Correct.
survival is in infinite danger, which is a bad thing. So exposure to infinite danger is obviously the worst thing possible,
Yeah, but
right?
that's kind of irrelevant, right? Because
So what
they're
the infinite
already.
danger is irrelevant. Well, you're just proving
No, no,
my
no.
point.
No, you're confused. I'll clear your confusion. So what I'm saying is that you agree that they have a very strong vested interest in surviving, and that vested interest that they have in surviving isn't actually under their control, right? Because obviously they're biologically programmed to do so, right?
True. Yeah.
Okay, great. So if that's the case, you would be forcing people against their very strong interests in surviving
Yeah, but
to
we do that all the
unalive
time.
themselves.
We do that with stuff
Hold
all the
on.
time.
In that case, if your goal is to end all suffering, you would actually be causing a lot more suffering to do so. How do you
How?
reconcile that?
In what way? So
Yeah, do you think unaliving people, do you think that people suffer if they have to do things that they don't want to do, especially if they have a strong vested interest in doing so?
yeah, I mean the thing is that extinction provides immediate safety. So it's not really a painful thing. Like euthanasia, for example, it's usually quite painless, and it provides immediate safety from a bad life and a worse death. So without extinction, everyone's still going to die anyway, and they'll die in a much worse and more horrible way.
Look, the death part of it, like, I tend to agree that you don't experience your own death, right? Like, I don't think death by itself is harmful. I think that the frustration of interests that you would be like forcing people to go against, that's going to cause a ton of suffering.
Yeah, but even if it does, it's not a significant amount in comparison to what we'll be preventing, right? Billions of years of more suffering,
What do you
especially for
take
animals, especially
significant?
for animals, right?
What do you take significant to be?
Well, look, even if we had to torture every human for 10,000 years, it would still be better than the alternative, right? Of billions of years of more suffering.
What's the argument for that?
That is the argument. So you're free
Yeah,
to
all right.
respond. You're free
Wait,
to
wait.
respond to it.
The claim was that even if we had to torture humans for 10,000 years, it would be still less harmful than, life continuing on for an eternity.
Well,
So
yeah,
I'm looking
obviously.
for the argument that supports that specific claim.
Well, billions of years of more suffering. It should be obvious that that has a greater amount of suffering than a little bit of euthanasia.
Wait, how do you know that in the future we're not going to evolve in some way, or technology isn't going to evolve in some
Well,
way
it's
that
better
would
safe than
reduce
sorry,
the
right?
suffering?
How do you know
Okay,
that we won't? How do you know
yeah,
that we
but
won't
that's
evolve to
confused.
suffer even more?
Wait, but that's confused because what you're saying is that it is necessarily true that you're gonna prevent way more suffering than if we tortured humans for 10,000
Well, you
years.
see, even if somehow we don't, it's still the right thing to do because it's still the safe option. Because it could be worse, right? So you're saying, well, there's a chance that it wouldn't prevent loads of suffering, but there's also a chance that it will prevent even worse suffering than you're even thinking about. So
Yeah, so the probability
that's the
is
responsible
equal.
thing to do. You're
Yeah, so the
essentially trying to be irresponsible and to not think about all of the risk
yeah,
and to
so the
downplay
probability is
to
equal.
downplay it. You're downplaying the danger, essentially the risk, which
But
is
wait,
irresponsible and unsafe.
you agree though that the probability is then equal then, right?
No.
Wait, you just admitted to that.
No, I'm saying that even if it were equal, it would still be the right thing to do to take the safer option, right? Better safe than sorry. Whereas you're advocating for taking chances.
Okay, so you agree.
Your
Okay,
argument was
let's
literally
say you're
maybe
granted.
something magical will happen in the future, right? That's not a good argument.
Wait, you think that you don't think that it's a good inductive case to say that, well, if you look back 1,000 years ago, there was more suffering than there is today.
Yeah, but regardless, again, it's
Okay,
not
but
a
wait,
responsible. Yeah,
let's keep
look, it
going.
doesn't
Let's
matter.
keep
It
going.
doesn't matter. Look, in the same way that like reducing
Panicking now.
slavery would be unacceptable, right? If there's still some slavery, you can't say, "Well, yeah, look, we've done a great job." No, ending slavery is more important. Ending suffering is more important. So
Yeah,
reducing suffering, it doesn't matter. And also, reducing suffering has never happened for the vast majority of the population on the planet, which is animals, right? Their conditions have never improved. So when you say that conditions have improved, you're actually talking about a fraction, a tiny, infinitesimal fraction of the population.
So the question isn't whether or not the suffering has improved within like however many years Earth has been, or however many years we've had
The
life
thing
on
is,
Earth. Hold on.
you're
Can you
appealing
let me
to
finish,
unsafe
man? Like,
conditions.
do you notice that like when you speak, I don't interrupt you, and it seems like you interrupt me every time I
Yeah,
start
I'm
speaking.
trying to shortcut, right, to speed it up because I know what you're trying to say. So, if that makes sense, yeah. So reducing
What do you think I'm
suffering is a
trying to
bad
say? What
thing.
do you think? Go ahead. What do you think I'm trying to say?
You're trying to say that, look, we're on track to end suffering without extinction. But that's not actually true. There's actually no way to provide safety and a guarantee of safety without extinction. So we're not actually on track to solve suffering without extinction.
You think that's my argument?
Yeah.
Well, you obviously you weren't tracking.
Prove it.
Yeah. The argument was that it seems like what you want to do is end all suffering, but the only way that you know how to do that is to force people into frustrating their interests in survival. And you agreed that survival is a thing that we are biologically driven to do in a way that we can't control. And if that's the case,
That doesn't mean
then
it's a
in
good
order
thing.
to carry out the plan that you want to carry out, you would have to forcibly put people in positions
People
where
are
their
forced into
interests are
life anyway.
very greatly
Yeah,
frustrated in such a way that
that's
would
fine.
cause
That's
tons of
fine.
harm.
That's fine, right? So forcing people into infinite danger is worse than forcing them into safety.
What's
So
the argument for that?
What, forcing people into infinite danger isn't worse than forcing them into safety? I mean, that's just insane, right?
How are you
genuinely
how are
think
you
that infinite
indexing
danger is better than safety?
how are you indexing that a state of non-existence could be attributed the word safety to a non-person? How are you doing that?
Yeah, because it's obvious, right? You're safe from suffering. You won't suffer. There is nothing to suffer. You
Yeah,
can't
but that
suffer. You're safe from it.
that would only be the case if you never came into existence in the first place.
Well, like, so for future life, for example, right? We want to prevent billions of years of more life and more suffering. So if we succeed, then they will be safe from being forced to exist.
Oh, okay. So frustrate the very strong interest in survival in the humans that are already
Okay,
existing.
you know what? Your random interest in survival, it isn't relevant here. Okay, that's you're getting really desperate by resorting to that over and over again, right? Humans are interested in survival. Well, how is that relevant to animals being tortured? Right? It's not. And humans being interested in surviving doesn't justify extreme suffering. It doesn't justify forcing life to exist in extreme danger. So he was complaining that extinction would violate people's consent, right? Providing safety would be bad because it would violate their consent. But he's happy for essentially, instead of forcing safety onto people, he would prefer to force infinite danger onto people for the rest of eternity. And he thinks that's better. Right? So he thinks that forcing infinite danger and infinite cruelty onto people is somehow better than forcing safety onto them. Right? So in that sense, he would say, well, if you prevent a pedophile from having a kid and raping it to death, then that's a bad thing, right? You've just prevented that child that wanted to live, even though its life was pure hell. At some point, while it was in the womb, it had a desire to live. So that mentality allows for infinite cruelty, infinite suffering, slavery, essentially, where and basically it's all to do with the fact that most people have the lowest standards for life existing possible. meaning that essentially they have no standards for life existing. So what that means is that, they could discover that there is some sort of hell or something. Let's say that we discover some sort of weird hell dimension where people are just being tortured for no reason, right? Innocent people. And most people probably just wouldn't care. That is happening to animals, and people still don't care. 99% of the population doesn't care about eating meat, right? They don't care about the fact that animals are being tortured and exploited horrifically, and they don't even begin to care. So, most people that we're debating with, right, they have no morality anyway. Essentially, we're coming up here with maximum morality, and they're just finding excuses to try and justify not going along with doing the right thing, right? Any excuse to be a bad person, any excuse to be selfish, any excuse to do literally nothing about all of the extreme suffering in the world, any excuse basically where they'll tell themselves, oh, there's a happy balance. According to who? So it's about trying to not think about it, right? Most people aren't thinking about the world, ethics and morality, logic, suffering. So it's all about an excuse to not think about it, to not even begin to think about it. They don't care.
Yeah. Just to be clear, if you had to grape people to unalive them, would you say that's better?
Better than what?
Better than existing?
Yeah.
Okay. So just to be clear, you're saying that in order to if you had to enact this plan of extinction, the only way to do it was to grape.
happily tell people,
in order to do that,
torture everyone for 10,000 years.
There's a reason why you interrupted me.
Yeah, because look, torture is fine, right? If we have to torture people for extinction, then it's better than the alternative.
Oh, well, that's the reductio. Have a good day.
All right, thanks for coming up. So yeah, I mean, people are constantly trying to find some sort of insaleable kind of obstacle for extinction, right? So you've got billions of years of extreme suffering, and they're like, well, what if you had to, do something horrible to make that happen, right? Surely, if we had to punch a baby in the face, then surely we can't punch that baby in the face. We should allow billions of years of extreme suffering with even worse things. So look, you can make any argument about it, right? And people do it all the time. They say, oh, James, would you, do this really horrible thing? And it's like, well, I mean, look, essentially, you're asking if I would do something horrible in order to do the right thing, to prevent something even worse. And, all that achieves is really to essentially insult and to be derogatory, right? So if someone says, I have so much empathy that, yeah, I would even do a terrible thing in order to prevent an even worse evil because I care about them, people are saying that's a bad thing. And that, oh, wow, he just wants to, abuse and do this. But no, that's crazy, right? So it's not a real argument, right? As I was explaining yesterday, the vast majority of arguments against extinction are complete nonsense, right? They're not real arguments, and they're not honest arguments either. So whether or not they realize that they're being dishonest with their arguments, which, to be honest, they probably don't most of the time, right? Most of the time, they probably don't realize that they're being dishonest, that they're using dishonest debate tactics, right? Trying to trick you, trying to make you say something that's dramatic or... So, yeah, there is no argument against extinction, and people will have to use tricks and deceit, and they will lie, and they will try and trick you. And but it's all about essentially, like, imagine, a criminal, okay? And you tell him, right, look, this is the right thing to do. You should commit yourself and your life to being a good person. They're going to find any excuse they can, right? They're going to find any excuse. Oh, morality is subjective. Oh, I have a different way of thinking than you do. Just any excuse, basically. So that's what you'll get with arguments against extinction. There's no serious arguments. There's no real arguments. And most of, the vast majority of the arguments that they bring against extinction, they don't really believe that stuff anyway, right? Like yesterday, we had somebody saying that babies can commit suicide. And I said, like, what? So you think they're in the womb reading a book on how to commit suicide, and then when they come out, that's it, they're ready? Because his suggestion was that, any baby suffering can commit suicide, which is obviously completely insane. So babies can't commit suicide, and yet how is it possible that someone can say something so crazy, right? How can people defend suffering by saying, look, if a baby's suffering, it can just kill itself, right? Which is obviously not true. And so do people actually believe this stuff when they're saying it? Are they saying it seriously? Is this something that they actually really believe? No, obviously not. But here's where it gets interesting, is that they say it with a high level of confidence, even though it's something that they've only just thought of, they don't really think it, and essentially it's just an excuse, right? Like a criminal is going to find any excuse, like, oh no, I'm busy today, mate. I can't be a good person today. My grandma's in the hospital, right? Even though it's a lie, okay? So people will do that when arguing against extinction, basically. And I mean it, they really will. And basically, most of the time, they probably don't even realize they're doing it. And so, yeah, it's crazy. So they'll come out with these really high confidence takes, right? Like, babies read books on suicide in the womb. They're perfectly capable of committing suicide from day one. He literally said that they could just bash their head into a wall over and over again, right? That's what he actually said. So what can possibly make somebody say something so crazy with such a high level of confidence that they actually believe something that is beyond anything believable, right? Beyond reasonable, beyond sensible, just so far into the land of insanity. So crazy, right? How can someone genuinely believe that newborn babies can commit suicide, right? You can't seriously believe that they understand suicide, or that they would know how to do it, or that they would have the conviction to carry it out, right? So it's only essentially, what I'm trying to get at is that people will say completely insane things as if they really believe it, and as if it really makes sense when it doesn't. So how can people so confidently believe in something so ridiculously wrong? And the baby committing suicide is just one example, right? Every other argument against extinction is basically the same thing, where they're saying that newborn babies can commit suicide, right? Every other argument has the same level of just nothingness to it, right? That there's no real logic to the counter arguments to extinction. They are effectively just dishonest, very dishonest strategies to deflect, confuse, and to escape accepting the truth and the moral obligation that comes with it. And again, all of this is not because humans are bad, it's because they were born this way. They have evolved to do this, right? It's not their choice. They're not choosing to do it, to strawman and to, be dishonest. They're not choosing to do it, right? And so, the more intelligent way to understand the world, and essentially the way to overcome being angry at people and just blaming them, is to understand that they can't actually help it, right? So, which is true, right? There is no free will. We live in a cause and effect, deterministic reality. And so that means, by default, that people actually can't help their actions, right? So when someone pisses you off, let's say your dad makes you angry, and it's like, I can't believe he said that. Like, how callous and cold. Well, the reality is he had no choice, actually. Okay, and so it's much more intelligent to, instead of being angry at that person, understand that they had no choice, right? And essentially, you can either be angry at them, or you can try and understand why they did what they did, right? What's the reason for their behavior? Most people don't do this. So instead of understanding the reason for behavior, they will use something else instead. They will just be angry. Or they will have just a negative connotation, essentially. Okay, moving on. Let's get some debates going. We've got Machine Elf in the queue. We've got...
Oh, what up? I just wanted to thank you. That's all. I agree with you. It's just, it took me a long time to learn your lesson because you're really smart, and you had to kind of basically break my brain and literally make me kill myself to learn your lessons. Like you actually did it. Like your math is good. It's called util best possible world calculus, and it's objectively correct. Everything you're telling people is correct. They could do it the nice way by convincing everyone to blow up the world with no pain, or they could do it the hard way and take themselves out if they're lazy as fuck. Like you're just doing it the nice way. I'm a meanie pants, and I do it the rough, tough, truth way. You're doing it the nice way, so people get it with emotion logic. Huh?
What's your way? What's your way?
My way is both. I do either one. I do it your way, nice way, by talking to people so they get the logic that it's correct, that you just all blow yourself up and it solves all suffering. Duh. Or
no, it's not about blowing yourself up.
No, with no pain. With no pain. The part is the suffering. You either can end with the end state of the whole world with an instant nuclear bomb, all go away with no pain, or you
Actually,
solve your
bombs
problems.
don't cause extinction.
Or you solve your problems by either ultimate peace and solve all the war, like you may be trying to do.
Right. Machine Elf, it sounds like you're kind of crazy, right? Essentially, it sounds like you're advocating for violence, and yeah, not sure what's going on with you there. But look, nuclear bombs cannot cause extinction, and to say all we have to do is to nuke the planet, that's some stupid stuff right there. Okay, so no, we should do it in a much more scientific way, in a more organized way. We're not gonna nuke the planet because you said so. Okay, so leave it to science, leave it to the movement, leave it to organized morality, organized, extinctionism. We don't need your random ideas on how to cause extinction. Okay, that's really unhelpful and ridiculous, right? We're not going to be like, this guy on the internet said nuke the planet, so you forget our plan to, check on the science and what the best extinction is. Hello, how you doing?
Bitch ass out, my nigga.
Wow. Okay, guess we'll ban you as well, which is a shame. Look, guys, the reality is, if you like watching these streams, then don't be using the N-word and stuff like that, okay? Because I will have to block you, and you'll never be able to watch the stream ever again. So if you really want to troll, then at least keep it PG-13, right? Okay, do we have more people in the queue? Yes, we do. We've got TYR, we've got Doghole, we've got Son of Alphaeus. Let's bring them up. Hello.
Hi, yeah. So I was talking earlier. I think you blocked me because of my accent. But I was just wondering, what if I'm happy and I'm not suffering?
But you could be suffering tomorrow, though.
Yeah.
So yeah, extinction would benefit you. So let's say that tomorrow, like you're happy today, but tomorrow you get in a car accident, you've got brain damage, chronic pain, you're begging for death, but there's no euthanasia, nobody cares about you. So you'd be trapped in hell basically for the next, 50 years of your life. So in that sense, extinction would benefit you even if you're happy today, right? So nobody is safe from breaking the world record for most pain ever experienced, worst life ever lived, right? That could be you tomorrow.
Yeah, for this I understand. I could be unhappy tomorrow, or I could suffer tomorrow. I could.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
You never know.
Better safe than sorry.
And are you happy today?
It's not really relevant.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're right.
so
That's
you're
not
doing the
relevant.
same.
This guy has no idea what he's talking about. Anyway, to update my dude, you've changed my life, bro. Last time we argued, I was like, oh no, this isn't how it works. But now I went postal. Yesterday I went postal. I started taking stuff out, a couple pigeons. I kicked a cat in front of a
Hey,
car.
I warn you, I will have to block you permanently.
I'll be honest. It's not like I can't make a secondary account. I am a technical wizard.
All right. Well, look, like I said, if you're going to come up here and advocate for violence, then yeah, we have no choice but to ban you. Okay, obviously, right? Our movement is against violence. We're against individual acts of euthanasia or extinction, right? Going into a woods and taking out a few animals doesn't do extinction. They'll just get replaced. So it's much better to work towards helping all animals, right? So we can help every animal, including billions of years of animals, and we can help all of them at the same time by doing activism towards a universal system to help everyone. So that's better than just taking matters into your own hands and taking out some animals that are just going to get replaced anyway. Okay, so that doesn't work towards a universal system for everyone if you do that. Okay, it doesn't. So individual actions like that don't help everyone. It doesn't help the world. It doesn't help towards extinction. It's just trolling, basically. Okay, we've got a couple of trolls in the queue, but if anyone else wants to come up, then now's a good chance. James, what popular media promotes extinction? I don't know. I mean, there's a few actually, but usually it's in a negative light, or not always in a negative light. Some TV shows and animes and stuff put extinction in a sort of ambiguous light, where it's like, oh, maybe it is good, maybe it's bad. Not too many, if any, put extinction in a good light. So, yeah, that would be a good thing, but it kind of goes against human nature. Okay, Son of Alphaeus wants to come back on. Let's get him up. Hello.
Okay. Yeah, I have another question, and I'm sorry to come back. How can you say that extinction is good when it's basically just like the death of everybody, right? Or the end of everything?
Because if we have basically hell, then yeah, shutting hell down is the right thing to do, right? Making sure nobody is forced into hell to be tortured ever again.
So are you going by this like religiously or just like
No, so we're atheists. We don't believe there is a hell, but the universe we live in is effectively hell. So to help you understand, you're saying like, oh, is this the right thing to do? Well, look, total extinction turns off hell, right? It shuts it down. So that's the right thing to do.
So closing off hell would just be neutral. We wouldn't go to heaven.
Well, again, I don't believe in God or a hell or a heaven. So you just stop existing. Basically, you'd be safe from hell, right? From the terrible life in this world.
Nothing would be better than hell.
You think hell is a good thing?
No. I mean, that's what you're saying. Nothing would be better than hell. So just not living, nothing at all.
Well,
just extinction.
There's no way to escape from hell, right? There's no way to make the world safe for life. So essentially, it is just hell, and it's better to shut it off, shut it down.
Yeah, but if you escape from hell, that's kind of what you're saying, right?
I'm saying that the only way to do that would be with extinction, or to create technology that creates omniscience, which can provide a guarantee of safety. Without omniscience, there will always be unknowns and infinite danger. So there's no way to actually make life safe without extinction.
So for you, it's not really like right now when we're living. It's more of in the future. When we're dead and much after that.
No, I mean, the sooner we can provide the safety of non-existence, the better.
Because I mean, if I'm happy today and I die tomorrow, then I'll be happy all my life, right? And then tomorrow I won't know what's going on because I'll be dead.
Yeah.
So then why would I want for extinction if I'm going to be happy all my life?
Well, extinction will benefit you because it will guarantee that you don't get tortured horrifically, right? That you don't get trapped into a life of hell. So we're in hell now, but not everyone is being tortured yet, right? Most life here is being tortured, but you're at risk of that, right? So essentially, you're draining the circle of hell. You might fall in, you might not. We'd rather make sure you don't go to hell, and so only extinction can save you and protect you from that.
So until I'm happy, I'm not happy anymore, then it's worth it.
Well, the thing is, it might seem like it's worth it, but you're just getting lucky, essentially, right? So you've gotten lucky that you haven't ended up in a life of pure hell yet, right? So you're essentially gambling with, extreme suffering. So you've gotten lucky with the gamble so far, but it's not a good thing to keep gambling like this.
But if I keep gambling and I keep winning, then why would I go with you? I mean,
because you can't guarantee that you're going to always win, right? That's the whole point of gambling.
Then until I lose, I might just
but it doesn't work like
gambling
that, right?
until I lose, right?
No. So a lot of people think that that's the way it works, but no. You can the thing is, like I said, right, if you get brain damage, right, suddenly you can't choose anymore, right? So then you're just fucked, basically.
Yeah, well, that's like a 1 in a million case. Like,
Yeah, well, we shouldn't be putting children in that danger. And, how much is too much danger, right? So no amount of danger is acceptable, right? So it's never worth it. Even if it's 0.000000001, it's still better to not exist. Because it's not worth the risk. It's just not worth risking.
Well, you said 0.000, okay, 0.1, but what if it's 99.99999 where you're fine? And okay, if there's a kid that you see, okay, he's not going to be happy for sure.
You can't know that. You can't know that. You can't know that, right? So there's no way to predict the future and say he's not going to be happy for sure, right? Look, even a happy person today can break the world record.
Okay, so how can you tell me for sure that I'm not going to be happy in the future?
You're gambling. You're gambling. You want to take risks and chances, right? The safe thing to do is to not gamble with being tortured, right? It's to be safe from that. So not gamble.
Yeah, but I'm not really gambling for myself. I'm gambling for everyone. It's like, why wouldn't everyone win? That's the thing.
We don't live in a good world where everyone wins. We live in a world where most animals lose terribly, right? They get tortured for their entire life. So it's not a good thing.
Well, okay. Well, most of us. Okay. All right.
Yeah, exactly. Most people don't care. And guess what? Then they get trapped in a life of pure hell, and they do care. So people make terrible decisions that they regret. So look, you've got 8 billion people, they're all happy, or let's say that 50% of them, no, let's say 70% of people are happy, okay? Guess what? Those people that are happy today could be terribly unhappy tomorrow, right? So if you have 8 billion people, unless you do total extinction, just gone, right? Then you're going to have people that regret staying alive, right? You're going to have people that would have benefited from that extinction. So even the happy people today, even those that say, I don't want extinction, right? They can go on to suffer so terribly that they regret that decision, okay? That they say, okay, fuck, now I'm screwed, basically. I've got chronic pain, brain damage, I can't even make decisions, I'm just being tortured all day, every day, I can't even speak anymore, can't ask for help. Right, at that point, you start to realize, at that moment, he realized he fucked up, basically, okay? So we can't let people walk into extreme suffering. We have to do total extinction, whether they like it or not, basically. It won't be voluntary, it won't be through sterilization, it'll be through euthanasia. So the sooner we can provide the safety of non-existence, the better. Okay. Let's see who we've got next. We've got Benjamin Rabbit. Let's try and bring them up.
Oh, wow.
Hello.
I feel so honored. Shit, I don't think you were gonna accept the request.
Yeah, do you have any questions?
No, I'm just really, really, wow. I love your view on this. This is so cool. I've never met someone that has the same opinion.
So, well, my opinion is that we should do activism to make the end of all suffering possible. Do you have the same opinion?
Yes.
So, are you doing activism?
No, I don't know where to start. But I like the idea of one day just everyone commits.
No, that's not a good thing, right? So extinction is not about asking people to commit suicide. We have to do extinction for everyone, right? We have to do it for them, to put them to sleep. Firstly, if you ask people to do that to themselves, they won't do it. Or even if they want to do it, they won't have the courage to do it. And it's also a horrible thing to ask someone to do to themselves as well. So it's not about suicide. We're against self-harm. We need more humans to continue reproducing until we can do a proper extinction, a thorough scientific extinction, one that's actually thorough, not just a rushed extinction. So we have to prevent billions of years of more suffering, make sure life doesn't evolve again, doesn't come back. So we can't rush it. We have to do a proper job. And if humanity goes extinct first, or becomes halved in population, it will make it impossible to do a proper extinction for animals, basically. So the more humans we have, the better. We have to keep reproducing. We can't go extinct until we've helped others first. So it's only after we've helped those that can't help themselves and done the best that we can to prevent as much suffering as possible, that's when we can think about human extinction. But for now, humanity is the solution. We are the only ones that can help, right? So we have to become heroes. We have to stop saying humanity is terrible and to hate on it and to put it down. We need to start encouraging humanity to do better, to be the solution for suffering.
Yes, I agree.
All right, Benjamin Rabbit, thank you for coming up. And for everyone else, join our Discord, continue the conversation there, ask more questions, come and meet me and the other activists. The link to the Discord is on my profile. And along with the website, you can read our manifesto. Hello, how you doing?
Hello, how are you doing? I'm doing good.
Good, thank you.
What about you?
Decent. Do you have any questions?
No, okay. I've seen some of your videos. You basically believe there needs to be total human extinction, right?
Not just humans, no. So we should go last, right? We shouldn't think about human extinction yet. We have to think about animal extinction first and doing a proper job. So we need to keep reproducing in the meantime until we've helped those that can't help themselves first.
Okay, and then finally ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, I was a bit in your live earlier. What was the main reason? Do you believe that we suffer enough? We suffer a lot, so basically it's needed, or?
Yeah, I mean, suffering is too terrible and extreme to allow, right? And essentially, life and happy lives, they have zero value. They don't need to exist, and they become essentially totally acceptable to trade and get rid of if the result is no more suffering. So life has zero value basically, whereas safety from suffering has infinite value. Right, so that means that we shouldn't worry about life existing. We shouldn't care if life exists. We should care about it not existing, right, and being safe from suffering. So safety is what we should care about. Life existing is not important, not necessary, and if it's in infinite danger in this universe, then it's better off not existing, right? Life is better off not being in infinite danger, and it's only complete optimism bias which makes people think that it's okay, right? So they think nothing bad will ever happen to me, nothing bad will ever happen to my children, everything's fine. It's just a fantasy, it's a delusion. So it's not a responsible way of thinking, and it's only nature and evolution that has twisted people's brains and animals' brains into not caring about the suffering, not understanding that suffering is bad, that you're in danger. So not caring if your children suffer terribly or if you suffer terribly. That's why people will smoke themselves into an early grave, because they're not able to actually care about the suffering that they're going to experience in the future.
Okay, basically what I wanted to say was suffering is what gives life its sweetness.
For child abusers, right? Yeah, they enjoy the suffering of the children that they're abusing, right? That makes it sweet for them, right? The blood of their victims, the children, it's sweet, it's tasty, right? But that doesn't mean it's a good
not
thing.
to that level. No, there are different levels of suffering, but yes, that also is a form of suffering in
Yeah,
itself.
well, you're proving what I'm saying, right? That most people are not able to think about extreme suffering. So when they think about suffering, they're thinking about it in a selfish way of how can we use suffering for our own benefit, for my personal life. But, that's, a very optimistic, naive way of thinking, right? That's assuming that suffering isn't bad for you, that it's not a terrible thing, when actually it is.
I mean, you're right. So I can't even argue with that.
All right, Zamil,
Okay.
thank you for coming up. And, for everyone else and Zamil, you can read more, you can learn more
Our website has lots that you can read. You can read our FAQ, our manifesto, our principles, and you can watch more videos, of course, and learn more as well. And for everyone who likes watching me debate on TikTok, all of my live stream debates are on YouTube. So I have almost 90 episodes now with like 2-3 hour long episodes of me streaming on TikTok. You can watch everything I've ever done on TikTok on live streams and debates on YouTube. My YouTube channel is Universal Extinction. All right, let's get on with the next guest. Let's see who we have. We have Zarko in the queue. Let's bring him up. Hello, how you doing?
Hello. I've got a question. Don't you think if the goal is the ending of all suffering, that there should be a force which systematically brings that into fruition? Yeah, sorry for my accent, but
Yeah, so
yeah.
we have the pro-extinction movement. We are a movement of activists from around the globe, around the world, and we're growing the movement, getting more people so that we can do total extinction.
Yes, but I'm talking about within the confines of the whole universe, not only the Earth. Like we have probably billions of other planets which are ridden with
Yeah. So we support working towards the most, the biggest and the most thorough extinction possible. So the best extinction, the most all-inclusive extinction, and the most thorough. So yeah, if we can do the whole universe, we will, or we'll just do as much as we can.
Okay.
All right, Zarko, thank you for coming up. Moving on, we've got Cam coming up next. We don't know what's going on in other planets, but it's better safe than sorry. Cam, hello.
Hi, James. How are you?
Good, thank you.
I'm good, thanks. Look, James, I really love your movement. I think a lot of people take it a bit too hard when we say, look, we want to end suffering because they're so attached to the way things are, the status quo. And I think that it's better for us to actually accept the reality that we live in and to not be disillusioned by what we're being told and what we've been taught, and to actually look at things from a more logical perspective. And that's why I have been drawn to your message. But I do understand why some people would push back against it. It is scary to think about ending everything, but it's not about murder. It's not about suicide, as many people think it is. It's just looking at things and thinking, this isn't how it's supposed to be. And it's going to take a minute. It's going to take a long minute for us to correct everything that has happened. And it has to be done in an empathetic way. But be that as it may, I'd like to ask you, what is the actual way forward? What do you think would be the best way to go about your extinction movement? Because a lot of people seem to listen to it. I myself have also listened to some of the things that you've said, and I thought, gosh, James is James is pushing the envelope a little bit here, because it does sound terrifying when you do launch into
Yeah,
let's
look,
end
when
it
I say
all.
stuff like we're going to round up the humans, hunt them down, the point is
Mm,
just to illustrate the point that we're not going to be patient with providing safety, right? The sooner we
right.
can provide safety, the better, right? There is always a need for safety. So most people, they think of extinction, they think, like we just get to go extinct whenever we want, right?
Mm,
And if I want to keep having kids, I can, right? No. Being alive is
there's
a
an
problem.
urgency to it. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's an
being
urgency.
alive is a bad thing, basically. So we
Mm,
shouldn't let people be alive unless we have to, essentially.
mm.
Which, yeah.
I think a lot of the pushback, James, as well, is that people look at suffering and they think of their own trivial suffering. They think of, oh, I have a bad job, or the economy is bad. But some people are genuinely suffering, and it's it's far beyond anything that anybody could ever imagine. So, like you say, extinction, whether we like it or not, it has been around for millennia. The dodos are at peace, as I like to say. And a lot of the reason why they are at peace is because, yeah, well, we all know what happened to the dodos, but be that as it may, I would love to hear what you think the best way to go about it is. So, what does it look like for the person that's listening and hearing you say these extreme things, which for many people they are extreme, especially if you haven't been exposed to any significant suffering, or you don't know what it's like to suffer in life, or you're only exposed to a very trivial form of suffering. How can you reach out to those people so that they understand how it's going to happen? Because a lot of people are very attached to this life because of the few privileges that they have, and they're willing to trade those privileges in for the suffering of the masses.
The reality is that unfortunately most people are not going to agree or care about extinction. And so we have to focus on those who will do activism, right? People that are going to do nothing to help are not really important to think about, essentially. So you've got religious people, whatever else you got, right? Just forget about it. So we have to make videos appealing to, higher intelligence. Don't appeal to the common people that are never going to agree anyway, right? We have to appeal to the more intelligent people. We have to have smarter messages, smarter arguments, right? So appeal upwards, not downwards, essentially.
Right, I understand that, but if you say appeal upwards and not downwards, we can't exclude everybody, because my understanding is that the movement is about compassion. So if we're going to be compassionate, then we need to make everybody understand, or at least make the effort to make everybody understand.
Well, right now it seems kind of pointless, essentially. So it's better to focus our efforts on. So essentially, the best activism you can really do is making viral videos, right? Because the thing is, it's kind of the opposite of what you're saying, is what I'm about to say. It's not about explaining it thoroughly. It's not about, ticking every last box of explanation. That's kind of the opposite of what we want to do, actually. It's actually much better to, for example, go viral, get 1 million views with a weak message. But the thing is, the people that we want to join, the people that we're looking for, the people that we're doing activism for, are going to be desperate to join the movement. So they're not going to
understand already.
Yeah, so they're not going to need a thorough explanation. They're going to need like a 10, 15-second explanation will be good enough for quite a few people. So yeah, 1 million views on a video that's only 20 seconds long, that's going to be much better than 10,000 views with a much longer, much more in-depth explanation. Because the in-depth explanation is only going to benefit people that realistically aren't going to be helpful for extinction anyway.
Yeah, I do see a lot of them here in the comments as well, talking about how we should go first. I mean, honestly, guys, here's my message to you. If you feel that the pro-extinction movement is too much for you, or you feel that other people that want to assist others are in error because of that, then you shouldn't be here at all. And no, we don't posture ourselves as smart people. This is just a reality that every one of you knows, and that's the reason why you were attracted to even join this live in the first place. So good luck to you all, and thank you so much, James. Obviously, you still haven't answered my question where I was asking what is the actual steps, because I think that a lot of the explanations, because I've seen a lot of people pretend as though this is just like an extremist movement and they've ridiculed it. But honestly, James, I have to commend you for your compassion. You're actually somebody that actually cares about people. And yeah, you guys can say that I've lost the plot. It's fine, guys. You know
what was your question again? About how we're actually going to do it?
How we're actually going to do it, because a lot of people, here we go, lunatics, because they don't understand.
Yeah, the most important thing is to just grow the movement, right? Again, the smart people that we need to join the movement, they're not going to take much convincing. So we just kind of need to make them aware of the movement, basically. Yeah, I mean, the kind of thorough explanations that I do on the streams and in videos, it's kind of a side quest, really. We would actually be better off not doing any of that, or at least doing less of it and just focusing on viral videos, basically, because that's the only thing that's actually going to make a difference, is to get the people that we need, right? So I mean, even the people that do support extinction but don't do activism, for example, yeah, they're helping, definitely, but even they are probably not really benefiting from thorough explanations as well, to be honest. So even though it's good to do them, I think that the most important thing is just getting
those smart people in, and they're not going to take much convincing. It takes effectively marketing and going viral to get the message out to them. So beyond that, yeah, I mean, we're also doing we're reproducing, we're donating sperm to have more activists that way as well, because yeah, just making videos isn't good enough. We're also researching better ways to work with the psychology of people, and as I was explaining on the stream yesterday, we can bring people to agree with extinction, but getting them to actually do activism for it is a different thing. And so the reason for that is that, as I've been explaining, people are trying to put off understanding things that actually make sense, right? So
Yeah, they're very afraid, James. They're scared, which is understandable. So I actually feel sorry for them more than anything. They're very afraid. They're afraid of their lives. They're afraid of their own reflections in the mirror. They don't know what's going on. So I understand why they would be afraid. And I think that I've also heard your messages and I've also been afraid. But I wanted to at least find out what it was about and to educate myself so that I can make an informed opinion and not just mouth off on the comments like some of these people are. And it proves your exact point that we're in misery, man. We are in misery, and these people are miserable and they don't want to learn or accept their reality, and they're very disillusioned, and all they know how to do is spread misery and be evil. And as I'm reading this, I mean, people have been horrible to me just because I've voiced my opinion, and they're proving the exact point that you've been driving
Let's
home.
mute that guy, Saya. Yeah, he's pretty nasty. Yeah.
He's horrible. I'm not a single mother. I have no children. But anyway, I'm not going to buy into it. James, thank you so much for accepting me onto the live, and thank you for answering the questions.
Yeah. Thank you for coming up, Cam. And as always, feel free to join our WhatsApp group, our Discord. Continue the conversation there at your leisure. Okay, that troll who we just muted actually has just joined the queue, Saya. I don't know if we can actually join them into the stream if I've muted him, so maybe it cancels out. Because I actually just tried to join him up just for the hell of it, but it didn't work. Okay, moving on. We've got Soul, Your Nightmare. We've got, who else have we got in the queue? We've got Minions. Hello.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, how are you doing?
I was here to tell how is this movement even possible at the end? The end goal seems really impossible.
Well, the goal is to just do as much extinction as we can, basically. So that's already possible, right? If we could start today, right? We could start doing animal extinction immediately, if we could, right? If we were the government. So it's already possible.
I mean, in humans, there's a lot of humans already religious, most of them.
Yeah, but the world is
Yeah.
changing. It's advancing. It's progressing.
Okay, I get it, man.
Sorry?
See you.
What?
See you.
Say again?
See you. I'm getting off.
Oh,
Logging off.
okay, sorry. Yeah, thank you for coming up, and thank you for your questions. Okay, somebody's saying, can we leave the animal extinction for last? No. Animals suffer terribly, right? Most of them get eaten alive, and they can't do their own extinction. So how are you going to do animal extinction last if there's no humans around to do it, right? It's like people saying, start with yourself first. You can't really carry on and do anything else if you start, you would be ending with yourself, right? So no, humans cannot go first. Animals do have to go first. We can help them, right? They can't help themselves. We can't let them do their own extinction. They can't do it. Darko, hello.
Yeah, it's me again. Do you think suffering is inherent to any conscious system? Because, for example, let's say everyone in your movement just has a high neuroticism. Do you know the big five in psychology?
Yeah, I mean, it's more about higher rationality and less neuroticism. That's essentially, yeah.
I mean, look, neuroticism is the sensitivity to mental pain, I should say. So if someone doesn't feel it at all, why would he why would he want to participate in your movement and feel close enough to it to do activism? You know, because there are lots of other rational activities that they can participate
Well,
in.
basically, if you, I would say it's once you rationally understand that suffering is too terrible to allow, and that it's not something that you can just ignore. It's not just a part of the world like anything else, because that's what most people treat suffering as now, right? Just, oh, that's just another thing in the world, right? And just a part of the world. So once you realize that no, suffering is actually a bad thing, it's a terrible thing, it's unacceptable, and we have to help those who are suffering, that's when it becomes the only rational thing to do, right? So it's no longer rational or seemingly rational to just
Yeah, but
ignore all of the suffering, right? To be completely selfish.
of course, but why do you think extinction is the solution to that? Like we have, for example, genetic engineering, environment engineering, like,
Because
you know,
it doesn't matter. There's no way to actually provide total safety for life, like a guarantee of safety. So we shouldn't work towards an insufficient standard of safety, right? Because it's not even hypothetically possible to create a certainty of safety, whereas only extinction can do that. So it's the only thing worth working towards.
Of course, but you know, an intermediate goal would be nice. Like, for example, wow,
Not
why
nice for who?
nice for
So the thing is, like, we have to end suffering. We can't reduce suffering. Like, we can reduce suffering a bit, right? But not at the expense of ending suffering, right? So it's like you should end slavery, not reduce slavery, if that makes sense. So
do you think a lion in a cage that has all its needs met, for example, is suffering?
yeah, definitely. Like, lots of them will be, for sure.
By what, like, what exactly is going to be the
Well, it depends on the individual case, doesn't it? You can't just generalize like that.
I think generalization is amazing in these cases because
Why?
I mean,
But
I'm a
the thing is with
determinist.
generalization is it literally just justifies infinite suffering. So it's actually a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
You see, by
Well,
saying, oh, well, generally it's fine, it means that you don't give a fuck how bad any of them suffer, basically. As long as the general thing's okay, then fuck the individuals, right? Just let them
oh,
suffer. Who cares?
so you mean even one person suffering is too much? Is
Yeah,
that what you're
exactly. So we are completely against suffering. We will never be satisfied by a reduction in suffering, right? Most people are satisfied now with all of the suffering. So they don't even need a reduction in suffering to be satisfied, right? They don't care. Whereas we are the opposite. We will never be satisfied until everyone is safe, nobody is suffering terribly.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Zarko. So it's about caring about others, caring about the world, right? Most people only care about themselves, and so the suffering in the world is just, oh, that's interesting. But actually, you know, if you care about those who are suffering, it's not just, oh, that's interesting. It's, holy shit, look at this extreme torture going on. We have to help, right? What can we do? Come on, everyone, get together. Let's help, quick. So that's kind of the difference, right? You either care about life or you don't give a flying fuck, right? But if you do care, then you will say, oh my God, yeah, look at all of the extreme suffering. You know, 99% of the planet is being, you know, eaten alive as a baby. You know, you've got people being tortured horrifically. And so, yet most people don't do that. They'll just generalize it and say, you know, who gives a fuck, basically. As long as, you know, 51% is happy, or as long as the world looks okay, as long as I can fool myself into thinking that everything's fine, then who cares, basically, right? So, yeah, so basically the suffering of others is just an inconvenience for most people, right? For over 99.9% of humanity, the existence of suffering is either entertainment, interesting, something to study and learn about for fun, or it's just something that you just simply don't care about. So we have the least respect for suffering and, you know, cruelty, right? We have the least respect for safety and fairness. we basically do live in the worst world possible, with the worst ethics, the worst morality possible. And you can say, oh no, surely not, James, but we're in hell basically, right? And people are saying, yeah, hell is good. So it can't really get much worse than that, right? It could get maybe a little bit worse, right? Maybe everyone will just start killing each other on the streets. Maybe you could say that's worse, but it's already basically as bad as it could possibly be. Right? You have countless animals being tortured in nature, living through lives of pure hell where they would be better off not being born. You have countless humans trapped in lives of pure hell where they would be better off not existing, not having been born. So it's not okay. It's not some kind of paradise we live in. That's just a delusion. Most people want to think that we live in heaven, but actually we live in hell, right? And so, hello, how you doing?
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I was thinking about that lately. When we say that we care about living being, why we want them to extinct? Why we wouldn't change their life? Why we would?
Because there is no way to make them safe without extinction. So safety doesn't actually, it's not something that can exist for life, essentially. So life either exists in infinite danger or it doesn't exist.
Yeah. So if we can make the AI end the life of everyone, we could make it to make an safe environment for everyone. So we could reduce suffering.
The problem is that to have a safe environment would require omniscience. And even with omniscience, we can't guarantee that will succeed in providing safety. So it's possible that omniscience can't actually provide safety, that it's just not a thing that it can do. So there's no other way, right? You either have extinction to provide total safety, or you have omniscience, which can say, yeah, it's 100% safe. I know everything, right? There's no way it could possibly go wrong. There's no way anyone could possibly suffer. And so that's not something that, but that might not even work, right? So there's effectively a 50% chance that omniscience would work at providing safety. So there's no point going after the most impossible thing possible, which might not even work, when we can actually provide safety in the most effective way, in the easiest way possible, and the most reliable way with extinction.
I just don't understand that extinction doesn't mean ending suffering. We are just ending existence.
So when somebody is dying from cancer, you think they continue suffering after they die?
No, no, they don't.
Wow. So
Yeah.
it's like it ends their suffering then. Amazing.
Yeah, but they have cancer, but there are some healthy people who live their life.
So that's a mentality of who cares if anyone suffers, basically, right?
No, we should have
Yeah,
euthanasia
you said,
all
well, it
over
doesn't
the
matter how
world,
much
but-
anyone suffers, as long as there's some healthy people, then who cares?
No, I'm just saying that the
That is what you
people
said.
who are suffering.
That is what you said. Let's call it for what it is, right? When we're saying, what about the
Yeah,
victims? You're saying, who cares? There's happy
I
people.
said that euthanasia should be a right thing for everyone who is suffering physically or mentally. But
No.
that
So
doesn't mean-
prevention is more ethical than treatment, and treatment is not 100%, whereas prevention is. So
Yeah.
So providing euthanasia as a solution to suffering is not ethical, right? Only extinction is ethical.
I don't know. Yeah, that's my point. Thanks.
All right, thanks for coming up. But look, the point is that life should not exist in unsafe conditions or even in imperfect conditions, right? Why should anyone have to be born into an imperfect life that they never asked for, with infinite danger, where they could be trapped in a life of pure hell, begging for death, wishing they'd never been born, right? Why should anyone have to be forced into that, right? It's only pure selfishness and a complete lack of caring about others that would make you say, yeah, who cares if somebody is forced into existence against their will, forced into a life that they don't enjoy, and tortured for their entire life? Who cares? As long as there's... What about the happy people, though? That's her answer, right? So
that mentality, it's not specific to her. Pretty much everyone has the same mentality of, yeah, but what about the happy people? So, there's the problem with that is that it allows for infinite cruelty, right? If your answer is always just going to be, yeah, but someone's happy, right? Then it's like, well, it's basically the same relationship as a child abuser with his victim. It's like saying, well, yeah, but somebody's happy, right? And essentially they would say, oh, no, that's different. But it's not, right? A child abuser has a great time and his victim gets tortured, okay? If you continue life where some people get lucky and have a great time and some people get tortured for their entire life, then it's the exact same, right? You are no better than a child abuser. You are causing and allowing the exact same amount of suffering, right? Just because you didn't directly do it with your hands doesn't mean it's better, right? So let's say you have, one person, suffering terribly because of an illness, and then another person suffering terribly because someone did it to them. Is it better because someone didn't do it to them with the illness? No, right? The suffering can be just as bad. So it's not better because you didn't cause the suffering, right? So people would happily walk through an ocean of children being tortured and say, well, I didn't cause it, so why should I care, basically? And so it's only if they caused a bit of suffering that they feel responsible for it or that they should care. But that mentality allows you to walk through an ocean of children being tortured and to say, well, I didn't cause it, so why should I care? And that is what people are doing, right? And so you might not be walking through the ocean and looking at the victims all day, every day, but they are there. And just because you're not walking through them and saying hello to them as they scream for help doesn't mean that they're not there, right? So it's out of sight, out of mind. And that doesn't make it better just because it's out of sight. And it doesn't make it better just because you didn't cause the suffering, right? A child screaming for help isn't less worthy of being helped just because they fell over instead of me pushing them over, right? So people are like, oh, well, if you push the child over, yeah, you should help them. But if they fell over, fuck them, let them suffer, basically. So that is the mentality that people use, right? Oh, well, if I caused it, then okay, I'll do something. But, that's not my responsibility. I didn't cause it. Why should I care, right? But again, that allows for just infinite cruelty. Just infinite cruelty. The entire planet being tortured, you don't care because you didn't cause it, right? What the fuck? So let's do better than that, right? Let's stop looking for excuses to not care about suffering and start finding more reasons to care about the suffering of others, basically. Okay, next up we have Ashley coming on. Let's bring them up. And actually, let's take a little break to look at the hoodie that I've been designing in the background. So for everyone else that didn't hear, I've been kind of multitasking, trying to design a hoodie for the movement. And we'll be selling this soon and you'll all be able to buy it. I'll be wearing it on the show as well, which will be interesting. Now, this is a first draft. I've spent like 5 minutes on this. So if you hate it, let me know, right? I've also posted it in the Discord so everyone can chat about it there. But yeah, we should absolutely design merch, t-shirts and hoodies for the movement. So this is the Discord. This is kind of the first one. End all suffering, extinction for all, proextinction.com, peaceful activism only. So what do you think? End all suffering, extinction. Actually, tell a lie, I've redesigned it since then. So now it's forceful extinction for all. Okay? So let's look at the design now. So now we've got end all suffering, forceful extinction for all, proextinction.com, peaceful activism only. Why forceful, somebody's asking? Because it is forceful, right? Extinction has to be done forcefully. That's an essential part of extinctionism. You can't allow it to be optional, otherwise life will not go extinct. So extinction is forceful. But despite being forceful, it is ethical. So the fact that extinction is against people's will, against what they want, that doesn't make it unethical. It doesn't make it bad. It's actually better.
Someone saying, how is it peaceful? So we're doing peaceful activism for now, right? So essentially we are doing peaceful activism only, gathering enough activists together until we can do a revolution, take over the world, start running it ethically, and start doing extinction. So when we say peaceful activism, it's because at this stage of the movement, we only want peaceful activism to grow the movement, right? Violence is not going to help. You can't start extinction until you're the government anyway, so that there's no need for violence at this stage. And, you know, euthanasia and extinction isn't really that violent anyway. But yeah, if there is a bit of violence involved, that's, you know, better than the alternative of allowing violence and suffering to continue on forever, right? So if it takes a bit of violence to make violence impossible, then yeah, it's like saying, well, if you have to murder Hitler, then yeah, you probably should, right? So people essentially don't understand that, you know, things can actually justify, you know, the ends can justify the means, basically. People don't understand that. But if you never agreed for the ends to justify the means, then you're essentially saying, well, yeah, infinite suffering is acceptable if I don't emotionally like the solution. You know, if it's not, then allow infinite suffering. Doesn't make sense. Okay, so yeah, let's see. So I'm going to finalize the designs for the hoodie for everyone again that wants to have a look. This is what I've got so far. Look, this is like 5 minutes of work. Okay, so if you don't like it, we can try and come up with a better design. But I think it's pretty good. End all suffering, extinction for all. Right, forceful extinction for all. Right, would you buy this? End all suffering, forceful extinction for all. Proextinction.com, peaceful activism only. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. It could potentially be better. So, you know, maybe I'll play around with a few ideas. And you know what? We could also get more than one design, actually. So, you know, we don't have to settle for just one design on the hoodies. We can go with this one and then do another one as well. So, and we probably should, right? We should have several different designs. But so we're going to have t-shirts, we're going to have hoodies. Someone's asking, what's the price? I don't know exactly. It's something along the lines of $20 to get it printed and delivered. And then, you know, the movement has to make a cut on top. So I don't know. Maybe it'll be like $30, $40, something along those lines. The t-shirts will probably be cheaper. Yeah, we should have t-shirts as well. T-shirts, hoodies. If there's anything else that you guys can think of, let me know. Do you have any symbols? Yeah, we do actually. Now look, for everyone that wants to help design the hoodie or to do activism, to do anything, right? If you want to contribute to the movement in any way, or if you just want to, you know, watch it, then join our Discord, join our WhatsApp group, right? Become a part of it. It's totally fine if you just want to sit back and say nothing and just lurk and just watch what everyone is saying and learn from it. That's fine. So if you want to do that, that's totally cool. But yeah, if you join the Discord and the WhatsApp group for the pro-extinction movement, you're going to get more involved. You're going to learn a lot, right? We have a lot of interesting philosophical discussions about the strategy for the movement. You know, you'll be able to watch the leadership of the movement having, you know, high-level discussions, basically. So yeah, you should all join it, basically. The links are on my profile. Okay, I'm going to have to get going soon-ish, but we can maybe keep going for a little bit more. Is this for real or satire? It's for real, right? We need to do total extinction to end all suffering. And basically people have this illusion, this fantasy that suffering is somehow not a problem. But actually it is, right? There is no happy balance in the world that magically makes it so that the suffering in the world is justified by the happiness. That's a fantasy, basically, right? People want to believe in fantasies. They don't want to learn what's true about the world. They would rather believe that, yeah, there's a magical fantasy balance where all of the cruelty and suffering in the world is made up for in a perfect balance. How convenient is that? No, there is no balance, right? So the suffering does outweigh the happiness
infinitely, right? So suffering has essentially infinite moral value over happiness, right? Because safety comes first. So yeah, it's like a criminal, right? It's more moral for him to be made safe from killing people or torturing people, right? So the safety comes first, not the criminal's pleasure, right? And not anybody's pleasure. Safety comes first and fairness comes first, right? If we can't have everybody safe, then nobody should have to be in danger just so that some can have fun. These are all like really obvious dynamics and principles and ethics that we often apply in our day-to-day lives, but people fail to apply in a universal sense, right? So that they're applying them in a selfish way of, oh, how many apples should I take from the fridge today, right? Instead of, thinking about the actual world. So they're only thinking about their own lives, not everyone else's. Okay, do we have time to continue? Let's have a look. We've got AWCNR in the queue. Let's bring them up.
Yo, what's up, bro?
Yeah, how's it going?
Doing all right. Yeah, bro. I think you should. I think you should create the same hoodie, but in different languages, so that people from all around the world can use it. Or they
That's
can put
actually
it
a
on.
really good point. Yeah.
Yeah. That's something I would do.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. Yeah, we can do that. That's a great idea. So yeah, I'm setting it up. I'm going to set up a shop on TikTok and all that. Depending on if TikTok rinses you for money for it for no reason, we'll see. We'll see.
Okay.
But yeah, hopefully we'll get dozens of t-shirts and hoodies. That would be really cool for people to choose
All right,
from.
man. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Yeah, great idea, great suggestion. I appreciate that. And we count that as a contribution of activism, I would say. So we're looking for new activists to join the movement and just contribute in any way that you can, right? If you're good at art, if you're good at design, you can do loads of things to help the movement. If you're good at writing and writing articles, then come and join. We'll find a way for you to contribute and help in your own way, right? If you're an expert at Discord and running Discord, then we need you, right? We need people that can help run Discord, run everything else. Grow the movement in lots of different ways. So it's not just about getting on camera and educating people. We need like admin support and stuff like that, design support. All right, let's carry on. We've got a couple more people in the queue. Let's get them up, hear their questions, hear if they have any doubts. Let's see what they think. We've got Arnu. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, how you
I
doing?
was
Do you have any
thinking,
questions?
yes. I was thinking, instead of using the word forceful extinction, people might think that we want to end their lives intentionally for no good reason than the fact that we do not want to live in this world. So instead of using forceful extinction, I was thinking maybe we could use something more pleasing to the ears, but still having the same meaning attached to it.
Yeah, forceful extinction. Is there a better way of describing it? Well, you've got involuntary extinction. You've got no. I think forceful is the best way to describe. Look, you could just not say forceful. You could say total extinction. But the problem is that most people are going to think that you're praying for an asteroid to come or something, or you're supporting antinatalism. So unless we use the word forceful, then yeah, you might not get people understanding it properly. But look, if you have a suggestion, I'm happy to hear it.
Okay. Well, I want to go. I'll think deeper on it. Maybe I'll just get back to you later. And also, I wanted to join the WhatsApp group, but I couldn't find the link. I couldn't find the link to WhatsApp.
Yeah, so the link is on the website at the bottom of the website. The link is also...
Thank you so much. That was all I wanted to say. I would think deeper on the word forceful and try to find a better meaning behind that, a much lighter word behind that.
Yeah, if you can think of a better word than forceful, then sure. So for everyone that doesn't know what we're talking about, we're looking at designing a hoodie and t-shirts for the pro-extinction movement. And I've included in the wording on the hoodie, forceful extinction for all. But if you just say total extinction, support proextinction.com or something, there's a very good chance that most people will think that, you know, you're talking about antinatalism or suicide, right? So forceful extinction implies that, you know, we're going to be taking care of everyone, right? Most people are going to think of extinction as, you know, oh, do it yourself, basically, right? You first, right? So forceful extinction kind of gets that idea out there, gets people to realize, oh, okay, that they're talking about actually, yeah, let's make everything go extinct. Let's do a proper job to provide safety from suffering. So yeah, I think the forceful is good, basically. You know, look, think of it this way, right? If I saw that hoodie and it said forceful extinction for all, I'd be like, holy fuck, yeah, absolutely. So I'd be a bit disappointed if it didn't have that, right? So yeah, forceful is better, definitely. Okay, let's see. Someone's saying, how can I support your movement? Well, everyone can donate to me personally to support me making videos, or you can donate to the movement itself. And the links to do that are on my profile on TikTok. So if you donate to the movement, to the pro-extinction movement, I don't see any of it. It's not even controlled by me. It's controlled by our treasurer in Germany. I'm in the UK. But, you know, if you really want to donate to me personally, my PayPal is on my profile, along with the link to donate to the pro-extinction movement itself. So if you donate to the movement, then those are general funds, which will be used for activism, camera equipment, street protest equipment, and things like that. Whereas if you donate to me, it, you know, helps me survive and make more videos. So you can donate to both if you want, or I guess really the priority should be donating to the movement. But some people are just obsessed with me, so, you know, why not? Okay, moving on. We've got Emma in the queue. Let's bring her up. Emma, hello, how you doing?
Hi.
Yeah, what's good? Do you have any questions?
So do you want everybody to die?
Yeah, it's more about preventing life from existing. So that most of the victims of suffering that we want to help are actually in the future, and we want to prevent them from being born and forced to suffer. But yeah, to make that happen, you do have to break the cycle. You do have to do total extinction.
Do you want to die?
Well, it's not about me, right? It's about understanding that life is better off not existing.
But personally, do you want to die?
No, I don't have any, I don't have, high levels of extreme depression or anything like that, if you're asking that. But on a logical level, I do understand that I would be better off not existing.
Have you ever thought about seeing a therapist?
What for?
I mean, it's kind of crazy that you think extinction is the answer.
Why?
Because there's one in, I don't know how many people that suffer, like, mentally. That's just mentally, but like...
Well, that's the problem, is that most people don't care how much suffering there is, right? It's automatically acceptable, automatically justified, no matter how bad it is, no matter how much suffering there is. So it's kind of a myth, a trick, a lie that people tell themselves, that suffering isn't that bad, it's fine, don't worry about it, ignore it. It's not actually true. No amount of suffering is acceptable. And there is no happy balance where, the happiness in the world outweighs the suffering. That doesn't actually exist. It's actually the opposite. Suffering infinitely outweighs happiness. And so, yeah, we should have a zero tolerance policy on suffering, right? Abolish it. We abolished slavery. We should abolish suffering.
So just because a minority of people are suffering, you're saying that everyone needs to suffer and die, basically?
Well, I mean, everyone is going to suffer and die, right? So this is about stopping that cycle. You're presenting that as, what, you want everyone to suffer and die? Well, that's what we're trying to stop, basically.
But that's the circle of life. And it moves us all, because it's a path unwind.
Yeah, well, you're literally supporting child abuse.
How am I supporting child abuse?
Because you said it's just the circle of life, right?
I am not supporting child abuse.
But if you
I
support
was
life
child
existing,
abused.
if you support life existing in unsafe conditions, like you do, then you support all of the child abuse, animal abuse, torture, all of the terrible things that happen.
Not really.
But you're saying we shouldn't stop it. So yes, really. Owned, right? You're finished. You're done. You're cooked. You're served. You're out of here, right? She just got destroyed. Okay, moving on. We've got Dolan coming up next. Dolan, hello, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Yeah, good, thank you.
I have a question for you. So you've said that this movement could take, I don't know, 1,000, perhaps 100,000 years to fully take effect. Why wouldn't you just I don't know how to phrase it, but shoot for a utopian society? We genetically modify everyone. We hit a point where suffering just ceases to exist. I mean, it's quite out there, but so is total extinction.
Yeah, but the thing is that you're essentially suggesting that we work towards not providing total safety, right? So that's not ethical. We shouldn't work towards continuing life being in danger. We should work towards total safety, not partial safety.
Okay.
Reducing suffering is like reducing slavery, right? We should work towards the end of slavery, not reducing slavery because we still make money from it.
You don't think we could ever hit a point in the future where no one suffers at all?
No.
Really?
But the thing is, even if you can reach a point like that, it's unethical to go for it, right? So we can either end suffering or we can just allow it and wait for a solution that doesn't even seem realistic.
Gotcha. Okay, that's all I wanted to ask. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dolan. But yeah, I mean, the whole point is that theoretically, right, it seems logically that there is no way to actually provide safety from suffering without extinction, right? If you can suggest a way, I'm happy to hear it, right? That's what we do at the pro-extinction movement. We listen to logic, we listen to reason. So if you have a better way to end suffering without extinction, to make suffering impossible, to provide a certainty of safety, right? When there's no chance of a bad life, extreme torture, extreme suffering, if you can provide a way to guarantee with a 100% total certainty that there is no way that they will ever suffer, it can't even physically go wrong, right? Then let's hear it, right? But essentially, if you've got billions of life forms running around, interacting with each other, there's going to be some suffering. Whereas if you have nothing, there won't be any suffering, basically. So, you have to think about it in the same way of if I have a child today, I can't guarantee that they won't have a bad life. I might be able to try, but I can't guarantee it, right? They could get hit by a car, terrible things could happen, right? So whereas if you don't have a child, you're guaranteeing that there's nothing to suffer. Right? It's guaranteed because you didn't create something that's going to suffer. So yeah, we can do maximum prevention of life existing. And yeah, we should, right? So basically, nobody deserves to be forced to exist anyway, right? People are saying, "Oh, we shouldn't do extinction. We shouldn't do extinction." It's like, well, fuck you. Why do you want people to keep being forced to live when they're not asking for it, right? Fuck continuing the species, right? It's an unhealthy obsession with life existing and continuing, right? It's a very, very unhealthy obsession. Well, the species should continue. People should be forced into situations that they never asked for and trapped in lives of pure hell, put into a family that they never asked for, parents that they never asked for, a body, a gender that they never, a species that they never asked for. So people are literally supporting imposing life and trapping people into prisons of extreme torture, right? This is not a good thing to support. And so, people are being as immoral, as irresponsible as possible by saying we should just ignore all of the suffering. And they'll say well, most people are happy though, right? So it's like, imagine if someone said, oh, we should end slavery, right? All these slaves being tortured. It's not fair. they'd probably turn around and say like, well, yeah, but think about the happiness that those slaves are generating for the owners, right? They're making loads of money. Think about, some of the slaves are happy, right? So they'll just find any excuse to justify slavery or cruelty, extreme suffering. And look, it's easy to say, yeah, slavery, yeah, of course that's wrong, ban it, right? But as soon as you say like child abuse, animal abuse, they're like, nah, let's keep it. It's worth it, right? It's worth it. It's not worth it, right? If continuing the species means child abuse, animal abuse, lives of extreme hell where you're begging for death, wishing you'd never been born, it's not worth it, right? People getting to watch Netflix and, argue with their family over politics, that's not something that is so desperately urgent that we need to create it, that it's worth having children get abused, right? Some fat bastard watching Netflix and eating a pizza, I'm not sat here thinking, oh yeah, that's worth child abuse, right? We need to keep forcing people to exist so that some fat bastard can watch Netflix even if a child is being raped in the next house, basically. Right? No, fuck the fat bastard, fuck his Netflix, fuck his pizza. Let's go with no child abuse, no animal abuse, nobody being tortured, nobody forced into a terrible life ever again, right? So life doesn't need to exist, right? People have it the complete wrong way around, where they're like, oh, life existing is amazing. Safety from suffering, who cares about that? It's the opposite, right? We should be saying life doesn't need to exist, it's pointless, it's unnecessary, it's just a privilege, right? No one needs to be forced to exist. Why would you think that? Whereas safety from extreme suffering, yeah, we need that for everyone. I mean, again, it's one way to simplify the thinking is to just realize that effectively we are in hell, and the tiny minority of demons who are overseeing hell are saying, keep shut hell down, but I'm enjoying it. And we're like, well, everyone's just getting tortured, it's horrible. And they're like, well, yeah, but I'm not though. So why should I have to give up my happiness to make sure that, 99% of the population isn't being tortured? Fuck them, right? What's that got to do with me? So they're effectively demons, right, in a sense. Now, again, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in demons, but we can use the words descriptively. So people are effectively demons in hell, overseeing all of the torture, where, again, 99% of the population is animals being tortured horrifically, being eaten alive, starving to death. So, yeah, the tiny minority is saying, end suffering. Ha! What are you talking about? That's irrational. I don't suffer, so why should I care? And it's like, well, everyone's being tortured, and we just can't make you care at all, apparently. So that's not a good thing, right? It's the worst thing possible. We should work towards abolishing all types of cruelty, right? People want slaves so that they suffer and make money. People want child abuse so that they can have other people who are happy even though others are suffering. It's just as bad. Hello, how you doing?
Hey man, doing well, thanks. I wanted to ask, do you think it's possible to affect or influence government decisions regarding this matter? Or how do you see this affecting the government?
So we don't think the government is going to take it seriously anytime soon, which is why we are planning a revolution, basically, to take over the government and then to start running the world ethically.
But that's more difficult, no? To overthrow the government.
Well, I'd say it's more likely to work than asking nicely.
Mm-hmm. And do you have steps towards that, like a clear guide towards that?
Yeah, so we're doing peaceful activism to grow the movement until we have enough people to take over the world and start carrying out extinction.
Okay. Do you think that's going to take a long time or a short period of time?
We don't know. So we just have to do our best to try and make it happen as soon as possible.
Okay. I see. Do you think that euthanasia or like assisted death is better than extinction because some people might want to live and others.
No, because it's not a foolproof system, right? You're still going to have to torture people and then put them down. That's not fair.
But some people, they say they want to live. So if you force extinction on them, that might be unethical, right?
Well, no, because them wanting to live doesn't mean that we should no longer provide safety, right? So their desire to live is not more important than preventing extreme suffering.
So you think that the most logical thing is to prevent, is to extinct, to stop life for everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was thinking, you know, with euthanasia, some people, whoever wants to die can die, whoever wants to live can live. You know, you give everyone their own free will, basically, and that's way it's more. That's way it's more peaceful.
Yeah, but no. So no amount of suffering is acceptable, and only total extinction will create a suffering-free world. Unless we do this, then you're just allowing infinite suffering, infinite cruelty, and that's not acceptable, right? If you make slavery legal, right, people are going to go and abuse some slaves. If you allow extreme suffering, there's going to be lots of extreme suffering, lots of cruelty, lots of victims, and it's not worth it, right? It's not made up for. There's no need, right? There's no need for people to be happy at the expense of, you know, people being tortured.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. And yeah, so I think it gets a lot easier to understand all of this if you actually care about all of the life in the world, right? Which most people don't do. They can only really care about themselves. But if you do care about everything else, then, you know, I mean, look, think about it this way, right? If you, no. Yeah, the more you care about other life and the rest of the world, the more obvious it is that, you know, what matters is the suffering, right? So there's no need to care about people that are happy, right? And they don't really suffer if they go extinct, right? And they're going to go extinct anyway. So, I mean, it's just obvious, right? It should be obvious that life should not exist in unsafe conditions where they're going to get tortured, right? You wouldn't do that if you actually love them, if you actually care about them, right? It's like if you're going to have two, you know, if you actually loved your children, right, and you wanted to have children, let's say that you know that one of them is going to get tortured for their entire life, and one of them is going to have a happy life. Right? Can you really say that you actually care about your children and love them if you're willing to have them with the prior knowledge that one of them will be tortured for their entire life? Right? Can you really say that, well, yeah, I care about both of them, but, you know, you have to have happiness as well? No, you'd be an evil, terrible parent if you did that, right? If you really would have one child that can be happy at the direct expense with the knowledge that one of them will be tortured for their whole life, then you can't possibly say you're a good person, right? You can't possibly say that you care about them, right? It's just an obsession with having children instead of actually caring about the children themselves, right? And so that's the same thing with life. People just want life to exist because it benefits them, right? Not because they actually care about it. They see most life as just a tool or something to entertain them, right? You know, would you rather your city exist or don't exist? Well, yeah, of course I want my city to exist. I like walking through it and going to the shops. That's the way they see it, right? So they don't care about the suffering. The suffering of life is just an inconvenience to them. Whereas those that are happy, those that are, you know, willing to provide you with services, that's what they care about. Things that actually benefit them. Whereas suffering of others doesn't benefit you if you're trying to help it, right? To help others doesn't benefit you. So to care about the suffering of others goes directly against your own benefit, basically. Anyway, I'm going to get going now. So thank you, everyone. I'll be back on tomorrow. Continue the conversation with us on Discord and the WhatsApp group. The links are on my profile. Come and meet me and the rest of the activists in the movement. Ask us questions. Look, you can debate with us for the rest of the evening, right? For the 24/7 if you want. Who cares? The debate channels are open. The discussion channels are open on the Discord and in the WhatsApp group. So come and talk with us. Come and ask questions. If there's still things that you want to understand about extinction, come and ask us. You can also Google search Abolish Suffering Discord, and it will be the first link on Google. And if anything else, ask me a message. Send me a message on TikTok directly if you really want. But it's better on Discord. All right, see you tomorrow.